goes on.
Absolutely. 3 series between these two. Good to see both these teams in high spirits going into this final decider series. A lot of pressure on either side. Cignal Ultra, I don't believe they've ever gotten to a major. So this will be a massive deal for them if they could pull off the victory. Of course, TNC, the previous major winners, don't want to get left out of the next major. So we'll see if they can pull off this win. John, do you mind translating? I have no idea what they're saying.
Oh, yeah. Lol. Give me a sec. Let me just scroll up. Bye. James, he was asking for Dota Plus, right? And Gabby was like, okay, give us a slot. Give us the major slot. And Gabby's like, oh, you're acting all big and all.
I see.
Oh, God. Dota Plus for a major slot, that's not a very good deal, buddy. Don't take it.
I don't know, John. I don't know about that. Dota Plus is an expensive commodity to have. Nando. Saying hello to KP up at the top lane. He may have given his life away, though. Nando. KP gonna chase him down. Tim's is there as well. He verifies as well.
With the poison.
Yeah, that's
There was no need for that verify. Like, fair enough, you're out of position, but surely you just understand you're dead.
Well, it's a rough start for Cignal, right? You don't want to lose your Jarcopter like that off the bat. He needs to escalate. You've given KP a good start. We have not seen this guy get a good start in a long time. In fact, they get the Arrow and Grims as well.
Tim's, he's on fire already. Not playing around this man. He's been pretty consistent throughout the whole qualifier. Just been playing excellent in that position 4 role. Of course, this game he's planning to step it up a notch. We'll have a quick look at the other lanes as well. Jamesy on that Ember Spirit up against Armel on the Lena. We've seen this before and it really doesn't favor the Ember. Armel can just harass from a mile away and there's not much Jamesy can do about it.
It's going to be a hard one for Jamesy. It's going to take him a few levels to really start contesting this. Armel can leverage that advantage. In fact, he already has 8-0 up against the Embers 3-0. It's a rough time.
Of course, up down to that bot lane, Van. Going to be up against Gabby and March. He will have the support of Eris there on the Veno. It's one of those annoying lanes for any melee core. You're going to play up against an anti-mage who just continuously just drains your mana away. And speaking of, Magic Missile will fly out. They shouldn't be able to kill Van. In fact, never mind, maybe they can. And they will. Gabby, he'll find the kill. Now Eris will be chased down. This will be the kill they don't find, but it doesn't really matter. They found the one they wanted.
Again, just Cignal not finding a way to stay.
Gabby will think better of blinking in. He'll just hold out. Meanwhile, top, you look at Grims on that Undying. He's falling very, very low. Tips does have leap charges, does have an arrow. Will rather just commit it on one of the jungle creeps instead. And he'll just follow Grims down. He doesn't really mind. Grims is low on mana, low on HP. He's going to have to make a trip back to the fountain or just kill himself off anyway. And it looks like he does intend on making the walk of shame.
Yeah, this is not the impact you're looking for from the early game of Cignal at all. Right? We talked about this kind of draft having to snowball from their strong early game.
Armel finds a solo pick-off onto Jamesy, who was just a bit out of position. And Armel just barely landing that last LSA. And, well, now Nando's dead. Speaking of, March is fighting Eris down at the bot lane as well. I can't quite keep up with the camera work, John. But all 3 lanes going in the favor of TNC, they each find a kill.
Yeah, it's going really rough. I mean, 5-0, you're finding these solo kills left, right, and center. Cignal laning phase is just falling apart. They should be stronger than this with the Undying, with the Venomancer. But it's really not going as planned here for Cignal. TNC just leveraging their, I suppose, experience and confidence up against this team quite well.
It's just, I mean, you look at KP KP on this Viper. He is just making their lives hellish up at this top lane. Just a constant poison attack spam. And look at Nando, his health, he just came back. It drops all the way down. But KP, are you going to dive? You are not. He doesn't even bother skilling up the Nether Toxin yet. He just wants to spam poison attacks, and I can't blame him. In fact, he brings out a clarity now, and this just isn't going to end for Nando. He wants to come back to the last hit. He's got no regen. You might be able to cancel off the clarity, but it may cost you your life if you do. And Nando thinks better of it. He just runs the other way.
He's going to have a rough time escalating from here. He had to go for a 2-1 build. No levels in flak because he wanted to play kind of aggressive with his Undying, which means he's really not going to be clearing out these camps early on. I mean, he's going to rely on that Rocket Barrage rather than the flak. Still going to be a rough time progressing here for the top lane of Cignal.
I mean, James is committed to the jungle now on this Ember Spirit. He is not going back to lane, I don't think. Even if he does, Armel will probably just kill him off. He's full level ahead. In fact, Armel's about to hit level 6. And once you've got that Laguna up, things become a lot harder if you are the Ember. Bot lane, though, they may be able to find March on the Venge, and it looks like they will. March going to try and turn around and go after the Veno. Eris will find the kill, but there is a return kill. He does get the trade, but at the very least, Cignal Ultra will find their first kill of the game at that 5-minute mark.
It's a start. But if you take a look at the network gap, Mike, it's a 3K lead at 5 minutes in for TNT. That's a massive lead at 5 minutes. Like, that's not something you see at all.
Nah, it is pretty huge. Well, I'm just trying to see what Cignal's up to. I mean, Nando's still on no HP. He may just die to these neutrals if he's not careful. Nando will salve up. Okay, just in the nick of time. Bot lane, March goes down, but Gabby finds Van on the Centaur and now just chases Eris. It won't be a kill onto Eris, but it's a core for a support trade. Gabby's going to go back farming up on the AM. Looks like Eris is going to try and gale him up and slow him down. Gabby just kind of looks like he doesn't really care too much.
I don't reckon he does. He's level 5 at 6 minutes in. He's got a good amount of blast hits, a good amount of kills. I don't think the pressure you want to see on an AM lane is coming out from Cignal so far. He's just going to go back, shrine up, go back in lane, maybe find a couple of kills once his support is back, and rinse and repeat.
Looking back over to mid, the T1's almost gone. It's deniable now for Jamesy, and he's going to try and force Armel out of the lane. Armel quite low on mana, so he can't really go for his LSA, Laguna, and Dragon Slave combination. Rather, he's just going to provide a bit of harassment towards Jamesy before he does back off, but Jamesy is going to be forced to deny this T1. In fact, Armel tries to go back for it. He won't quite be there in time, but at the very least for TNC, now there's no T1 mid-tower.
A tier 1 sub 7 minutes.
Tim's going to find the courier of Nando top lane, but they are going to try and chase him down. Homing missile will be there, but KP will also be there to protect. They will drop the tombstone. He's feeling confident enough to keep chasing. Keep away that those zombies are chasing, but Tim's will survive. And, well, I suppose you should just protect that tombstone. KP's going to go clean it up, it looks like. Well, at least Grimm's get the denial off.
It's a pretty massive commitment to try out the tombstone like that, though. It's a long cooldown. You don't have a huge mana pool, so that takes away from any of your harassment spells. You're not going to have too much left in the tank here for Grims.
It does seem very desperate from the side of Cignal Ultra right now. Like, they're just trying to find anything they can get. And you can't really blame them. They must understand how far behind they are already. Even Nando, like you just look at him, he's back in the fountain now. Looks like KP was just attacking him again with that poison attack. And unfortunately for Nando, he is third last in net worth, John. 1.8k net worth. He's behind March. There's not much he can do, don't get me wrong, but it's just not a good sight to behold. At the very least, Jamesy does find Armel in the mid lane. That's a massive pick-off for the Ember, finding an important kill onto the Lina. If Jamesy can start the snowball in this Ember, he could buy enough time for this gyrocopter to get up and online. While though bot lane looks like they have found errors once again. Gabby will just commit the mana void and the kill. Van throws out the hoof stomp, but wouldn't recommend sticking around. March has another stun. He'll throw it out now. Gabby, I doubt they'll keep chasing. But there is another rotation coming in from Armel. He's got Laguna up, so he really just requires an LSA to land. Van will salve up, but March, he's getting in range for that stun. And yeah, I think Van may just be dead now. Stun comes out, Armel with the follow-up, and he is gone. 9-3 now, 9 minutes in. So far, complete domination from TNC.
I don't see what Cignal's game plan is here. Like, they are trying to rotate heroes out. They still haven't found a pressure they want. They've left Nando alone up top against a Viper, and that's not a really good lane for Gyrocopter. His laning presence isn't as strong. There's no tier 1 up top left, so they really don't have any way of backing Nando up as well if he gets jumped, which looks like he is.
Yep, potentially. Tim's doesn't even need to throw the arrow. He could just Moonlight Shadow and run in. He won't though, as Nando does disappear off the map. In fact, he will TP into the mid lane now, so he finds himself a wave to farm. Nando, this is all he can do. He just has to look around the map and see what he can get. So bot lane, Gabby getting low, but they will find him. Grims, nice soul to confirm the kill. And that is another important kill. It looks like James, he did rotate down to secure that with Van. And again, if they can just continue to do that, they could bring themselves back into this game.
Definitely. They will be able to take this tier 1 down bot as well, giving themselves some space to play around with. So they've got one lane where they can confidently farm without worrying about the teleportations in too much.
It's like Gabby's actually going for that the old school Battle Fury build on the AM. That brings back some memories. Looks like he'll grab the treads now. We'll go straight into the B Fury after that. Himself a nice little broom handle as well. They are going to go onto the Ember, though. Stampede is going to be there. Now the rotations from TNC. The swap from March, perfect, though. Jamesy going to remnant back up the hill, but the arrow, Tims! What a prediction from the Marana. And Eris going to get stunned up by Armel. It's a double kill for the Lena. But man, Tims is on fire this game.
He definitely is, and that was really well executed all around for TNC. That was a deep dive for March from Cignal. They were trying to dive the Venge under the tier 2, knowing that the teleports were up, and it just doesn't pay off. In fact, it's so badly that Armel still has Laguna. He did not expend it there at all. You might be able to find another kill if you're not careful.
Certainly. Looks like Jamesy does have eyes on him. They do have an observer ward where Armel is, and they are starting to group up around Armel. It'll be another very nice kill if they can find him, though Nando drops a very early call down. Jamesy does get the chains off at least. Armel, can you juke yourself out of this one? TPs are coming in, the homing missile will connect, but March jumps in. Can he stop this? He definitely can with the stun, but now the tombstone. Armel still slow. LSA, he hits 3 of them. They still find the kill. The arrow from Tims. Can they turn this? It looks like they will not, as March does also go down. And Cignal Ultra find themselves 2 kills, but more importantly, they find Armel on the Lena, and they will take the outpost.
That is a pretty big win for Cignal, probably one of the most convincing wins they've had so far. It is a start of something. They are certainly starting to build up here. Fortunately enough, you had your 2 cores there to soak up the AoE stuff as well. So you have injected yourself with a bit of sign of life there. You do still want to build up here. TNC, they are playing really aggressive, so that was definitely a very optimistic move from them. It does look like they are pinging out the wards now. A lot of X marks coming out from Armel, so he knows something's up in that area, and we'll see whether or not Cignal can maintain this pretty decent vision game they have up top. They've got to maintain it elsewhere in the map, though. Once that's gone, or if ever TNC stops going up there, Cignal, they've got to keep an eye on the movements from TNC. They're just really aggressive so far. They understand that they've got a pretty good advantage, and they can really just apply that pressure to buy space for Gabby to farm up.
He's certainly getting there as well. Closer and closer to the Battle Fury now. Only needs the Demon Edge and the Void Stone. You'd imagine he probably will get it in maybe 3 to 4 minutes maximum for Gabby. And once that Battle Fury is up, the AM shenanigans begin. Of course, Grims putting some wards down deep into the jungle of TNC. Looks like TNC are just happy to sit back and relax for a bit. They're not too interested in pursuing while that Battle Fury is not up.
Denied.
Cignal will oblige though. I mean, they definitely need the space. You do have a pipe now coming out on the Centaur though, so they may feel more comfortable to smoke up or go for a gank attempt. And it looks like they are going to try and go after Gabby in the mid lane. So Gabby has left the lane now, does go to the safety of his own jungle, but no, he will return back into the mid lane. This could be an opening for Cignal. They'd have to do it very quickly though, and it looks like they won't take it either. They're going down bot, but meanwhile top lane, it looks like they have down the gyro. Still, they will not follow up.
Huh.
Perhaps expecting the rotations, Nando drops the call down and they take that as, uh-oh, we better get the hell out of here. TNC miss out on a very easy kill in the position 1 gyro.
That is pretty surprising from TNC. I think after that last fight went bad, they are kind of reeling in the aggression, trying not to overextend under any sort of TP area, which the tier 2 tower is, so not wanting to overextend too much. They don't have all of their forces up top. A bit more information before they get that done, and it does look like Cignal is starting to pull out of that bot lane, although they have left Van to just keep farming up here.
Van, pretty desperate for that Blink Dagger. He certainly will need it. Try and counter these team fights when they do come in. He's going to start forcing in that tier 2 bot tower as well, and March is the only man there trying to defend. We'll see Grims pop up and again drop the tombstone. Looks like he will do it, so he buys a bit of space for Van, but perhaps a little bit unnecessary. They won't have it now if they want to go into a team fight for the next minute or so. Gabby making a ganked here, surrounded, but they don't really have that blink yet to get the surprise stun off. Now KP will rotate in. They're not willing to allow the T1 to go down. Arrow, not land. And, well, there's the Battle Fury on Gabby now, so he's more than happy to just keep wasting as much time as possible, just keep farming up. But AMC gonna try and go after Gabby, gets the chains off. This could be dangerous though. Armel is there. He gets the Yules into the LSA, but no, a nice Sleight of Fist remnant dodge. And that actually bought time for Cignal to take that T1 mid tower.
Yeah, it's a pretty nice win there for Cignal. They have objectives off the map now. They've taken that tier 2 down bot, tier 1 mid, and TNC does feel like they have slipped up a bit, giving away a lot of map control back to Cignal. That does allow them to pop back into this game. Less than around a 2k lead for TNC now over Cignal. But they are playing a farm game up against tiers that are also farming up decently. Look, Nando has not had the best of times. All things considered, he's just about 800 gold behind a free farm AM. That's not bad considering how hard of a lane Nando had.
That is true. It's impressive how fast he caught up. Van now also has the blink coming out on the Centaur, so they may find that they want to smoke up, and it looks like they are starting to group up for that smoke. And there it is, 5-man smoke coming in. I don't believe that was envisioned, though it could have been close. Cignal. They're going to run into Gabby. That'd be a massive kill. Moonlight Shadow, they're already there, but they get the stun off, and they will burst Gabby down. Great play there from Cignal Ultra. They look for more now. They know that TNC is around the outpost on the east side of the map. Jamesy, sleight of fist, won't really connect on much, so he gets the magic missile. Now the LSA into the arrows, straight on this Ember. They burst him down. Van gets slowed up by the Viper, but now the Poison Nova comes out as well. Not doing too much as well. 3-man LSA from Armel. Van getting low and should drop here. In fact, he does. TNC look to punish even further. Nando's caught out. You can't TP underneath the outpost. It gives vision. And they could see him exactly through the tree line. With that TNC, they lose the AM. They find 3 more for the cause. I say they're pretty happy about that.
They definitely are. One key thing that secured that kill at the start on the Centaur while he was running away was the fact that Armel, he had a Grove Bow and he had the vent around him, so his attack range was just ridiculous. He could keep orb walking even at a really dumb range, so the projectiles did land in the end, and it gave them that one kill on top of everything else.
Cignal Ultra, they group up again down that bot lane. TNC are still around the area. Still most of their ultimates up. The only one missing is the Moonlight Shadow. Still, Cignal will take that outpost just before that 20-minute mark, and TNC do not want to contest. So XP will be split between both teams. Should be a 2-for-2 boundary trade, as well as Gabby is already up at the top lane and he can just take the bounties for his team. So in fashion, he refuses and would rather farm. Armel looking to buy a BKB. He'll have it up pretty darn soon as well. Almost has the goal to buy it outright. Nando, meanwhile, trying to finish off that Sergeant Yasha on the gyrocopter. And Jamesy is actually going for the Battle Fury build on the Ember Spirit. Something we haven't seen in a very long time.
That is a bit indicative that they are expecting to try to play this towards the late game. So pulling out of that emphasis on magic damage is pretty good if you're planning to go late. You also have to wonder about the effectiveness of a magic build up against an AM. That's really not going to pay off too well. You're not going to be able to burst that mean carry. So I suppose you might as well go physical.
Smoke is there from Cignal Ultra. They are going to run into Gabby, but it looks like Tims will be there to break the smoke, and he does, but Van has found the stun, so Tims should just be dead, though. He does get the Yules off, and that will allow the leap. He'll leap straight towards the tombstone. They don't get the chains off, though. Soul Rip is nice, and the Remnant does come in from Jamesy. So Cignal, they do get something out of that smoke. Not only a hero kill, but it looks like they will confirm taking down that T1 top tower.
It's a good set of objectives coming out the way of Cignal. Once again, they are slowly chipping away at these objectives on the map. You know, they're keeping themselves in the game. They're not actually being run over by TNC. TNC is just having to take it slow because of their AM pick here.
Cignal TPing down to the bot lane. Gabby will be alright for now. We'll just continue farming away. And Gabby just trying to go into the Manta style, and it looks like he wants to go for the heart straight after that, though. Top lane, KP does get chained up on the Viper. Cignal, though, they will not attempt to pursue those kills. Again, Cignal just more than happy to just buy as much time for Nando. Like, as long as Nando's farming, they couldn't care less. And Nando, now that 10k net worth mark, has finally caught up. We'll have the full Sergeant Yasha up soon, within maybe 1 or 2 minutes.
That's going to be really helpful for Cignal, just knowing that their gyrocopter is still maintaining farm parity with TNC. I think that is a point of concern for TNC. Normally, anti-mages do operate in a bit of item advantage compared to everyone else. Based off that form speed and mobility, it's not quite there yet for Gabby. He's still escalating. He still has a couple of items to build up. The Manta style is up, so he's going to be a bit safer from the disables that Cignal does have. He is still a very squishy target, working towards his heart next. That should give him a lot more to play with.
You want to go for Armel on the lane of the Armel going for the TP, though the hoof stop ban. He predicts it perfectly. He can't even believe it himself. Though the LSA, he'll try and turn it around. Armel BKBs now. Shadowblade, does he actually get out? They drop detection, Armel, no.
Dire's top tower.
He didn't want to take the death, but hold on a minute, top lane, John. Gabby, going after the tier 3s now. Cignal. They will bring in Jamesy to defend, and it looks like that's all that's going to be required.
They're trying to get their own push going down bot as well. They've got 3 heroes here.
It's under attack. Illusion. Radiance.
KP going to be there already. March will join in. That should be enough to force Cignal to back off, but it looks like they are still thinking about this. Jamesy, Remnant's in. He wants to go up to KP. Mind you, KP doesn't have much help, but here comes Sims. Call down will be there, but there's the poison over as well. KP falling very low. March will swap him away from Jamesy. No heroes going down quite yet. In fact, Jamesy is not done. He wants to go for more. He does eventually back off, but Cignal ultra fine tier 3 tower. Meanwhile, Gabby is riding the top lane, and now TNC, they're going to try and punish March. Can he get in range for a swap?
Radiant's bottom barracks are under attack.
It looks like he probably will not, but Gabby is still going up at the top lane. He doesn't care. Buy more time, they say. Now Armel TP's in, still pacing. The chains will be there from Jamesy, and that'll stop the chase. Or maybe it won't. Yules will be there at least on the Venomancer. And so first should be going down, and he will.
Everyone.
Didn't quite manage to find that tier 3 either. Cignal made it in time to defend. And so now we find the Dire side actually ahead. They'll have the ability to take out shrines from the Radiant side. This is just something I wasn't expecting, just based off what happened at the start of this game.
Definitely, it does look like Cignal is putting up quite the fight here. They can get stuff done if they play their cards right like this. TNC, they really are putting everything they have into Gabby. They trust in this guy a lot. They allow him to just split push like that, despite the fact that they've lost the tier 3. Fortunately enough for TNC, they still have 2 outer towers left. So the other towers can't be pushed out just yet. If they want to take that high ground, Cignal will have to focus only on the racks or take out those who's down mid and top as well before taking anything else up there.
Radiant are scanning.
Jamesy has the Battle Fury up, almost has the BKB up now. He's starting to get very, very scary on this Ember Spirit. Because like you mentioned before, he is building into that late game build, so you always have the backup of just going for Daedalus and Divines if you really want. Of course, we haven't had the pleasure of seeing a game go past 70 minutes yet, so we haven't seen any tier 5 items. Of course, I'm sure there's some ridiculous items that Ember Spirit could take advantage of if they did drag it out that far.
Yeah, that would be one to see. I'm not sure if I want to wish us to see a 17-minute game though, Mike. You gotta be careful with what you wish for there. Would you like Tinker in the next match along with...
John, don't you say that name.
Tinker and Arc Warden, Mike.
No.
Opposite teams, come on.
John, if it happens, sir, I will turn off the stream. I will send you your unemployment letter. That'll be the end of that. TNC, Roshan is being taken. Roshan will go away for free. TNC will just go ahead and sneak it their way. Moonlight Shadow and just get the hell out.
The net worth advantage that TNC had has really shrunk down. It's down to just 2k at 28 minutes in. They still have the lead. It's not as wide as you'd want, especially since you have an AM. It's almost like having an alchemist. You want an item advantage on this hero. You don't expect it to be that massive, but perhaps one 4K item ahead is really the bar, I'd say, for something like the AM at this point. And we're not quite there. Gabby's in the lead in terms of net worth, about 2K ahead, which is good. You want that to be a bit higher, just to make sure, like, say he has a heart before anyone else has a counter item, or he has his butterfly before the MKBs are up. That's really going to be the key thing that allows Gabby to be a menace in case he's ever jumped. It looks like he is much more happy to just kind of rat it out. Take it slow, farm up, apply pressure in lanes, and distract Cignal from getting any of their aggression down.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, Nando. BKB forced out from Nando. That was his 10-second charge. He's going to go in now. He wants to make use of it. Call down will not land, and now Armel wants to switch it around as well, but the LSA does not connect, but another swap from March. But now Eris just forced stuff out of there. Poison Sting being committed even. They're going to go for this fight now. Eris is gone immediately, and Van could be in trouble, but they get March on the bench. Now the Stampede, Laguna even flying out. They get the tombstone down thanks to Gabby. The Ember, LSA, no, Jamesy, he'll be KB up, and he just runs forward. He didn't have the slot and then just runs out.
Oh my god, this is one mess of a fight. Definitely TNC's fight. Like they are very happy with what they've gained there. They forced the BKBs, they found a support for a support, but they drain out all those big BKB charges. You're really gonna be happy about that. It is just a 10-second to 9. So it's still going to be a long charge for both sides, for both heroes, but you're not going to be too happy about that first BKB use if you're Cignal.
Looking back over at James, it looks like he's going into a Desolator next, so just amplifying that damage build. Of course, we can't forget there's a Desolator level 2 now, if you get that far into the game. It's quite obnoxious, to say the least. It's like Nando's going to have a Satanic up soon by the looks of it. He just needs to pick up the Reaver. It's only a couple hundred gold away from that. So slowly but surely, this Gyrocopter is starting to look scarier and scarier. Still though, you look at Gabby now. He has a hard up, and you do have the Viper Ags coming out as well. So 10-second on the Viper Strike ultimate. And well, it looks like they found Van. Gabby being straight into him, breaks his smoke. Cignal, do you really want to fight this? TNC's right behind him in the smoke. They do jump in Van. He gets the hoof stop off. The AM is way too tanky to burst down though. Gabby will just pick out of there. Now the call down, March, he could go down on the bench, but he'll force up out. They should be able to at least find the support, but now Gabby jump Brims. He wants that Undying. Eris with the Poison Nova as well, but really nobody is dropping apart from March. But it looks like TNC do not want to borrow this team fight. In fact, they will lose KP on the Viper. In the back lines, Mana Void was thrown out by Gabby. James D is going to find KP eventually after that Helm of the Undying wears off. And Gabby does manage to TP out, but Cignal Ultra once again winning a team fight. And why is that Undying running over the cliff?
Scanning.
Spiderlegs. All right.
I want to point something out from that last fight. It was pretty badly timed from TNC. Understandably, they just got the heart on their AM, but right when they forced it out, Nando already just picked up his Satanic. So even when they dropped him low, he just popped that on, popped his flat cannon on, and he wasn't dying, which caused major issues for TNC. They've got to tighten up the fights they take here, because they are slipping a lot of ground to Cignal. I mean, TNC is supposed to be a team that's on a different level in Southeast Asia. Cignal is looking pretty darn good up against these guys.
They sure are. They're going to go for more. Gabby, he just blinked. They will not initiate, though.
Dire's bottom tower is under attack.
Did have a haste rune anyway, so he probably would have been all right.
Dire's bottom tower is under attack.
Gonna remnant in. TNC aren't around to try and go after that Ember. He had plenty of help anyway. It's like TNC are just trying to focus on farming up once again.
There's a smoke from Cignal, though.
they're feeling confident. Arrow to scout, but of course he won't go through the smoke. Now a smoke off. But there's a stampede, but they miss Armel, and now they run straight into TNC, but this could be bad for Cignal. LSA comes up, but no, it actually looks great for Cignal as Gabby jumps in. They got the Centaur, they found much on the bench. A 1-for-1 so far. Gabby just trying to take that tombstone down. Meanwhile, James, he finds Armel on the leaner, and now is looking for more. KP will manage to TP out. No, the chains connects just barely. He will Viper strike from the grave, but Jamesy will be fine. He does find the Viper, and that's going to be another 3 heroes going down for the price of 1 for Cignal Ultra.
It looked really bad for Cignal when they missed their initiation. It didn't matter. They are really strong right now. They've got all their talents up. They've got all their items up and on their cores. TNC, what can they do about this? Armel is just getting picked off every single time. And they need him for damage and control. He's just not able to provide it anymore.
Well, it's going to be the first racks of the game going down. The range racks is now gone. TNC going to try and defend. They don't have buybacks on KP or Armel. I mean, missile going back towards Nando. He'll have to take that. Tim's now doesn't connect with the arrow. Guiding Greaves will purge off the chains, but now March starting to fall low once again. And yeah, easy racks. They just leave the base. No need to rush this. In fact, as they're running back, Fan will run past the double damage. Checks the Roshan, but there's still a minute till we find out when that's going to be up. But all is running very, very smoothly for this Dire side.
Definitely is. It looked like a rough start from that laning phase. It looked rough in that mid game, but right now, Cignal is ahead. They've taken the first. They've got a slight net worth advantage up against an AM. So most of that gold that TNC does have is on Gabby, and they are still slightly behind, slightly ahead every now and again. Pretty even is probably the best way to describe it, and that's not what you want to be seeing when you have an AM. You want to be ahead. You want this hero to be so far ahead that the net worth advantage is clearly on your side. That's not the case for TNC. A couple of holds to plug in their fights. Their initiation is just not going well.
Another smoke. They made it slightly obvious the smoke was happening thanks to that call down of Nando. And so instead they are going to go for that top shrine. Might kind of sneak past them.
Radiant's top shrine has fallen.
So 1 shrine gone. In fact, make that 2, sorry. One of the bot jungle. It's gone a while ago.
Dire's bottom tower has fallen.
Jamesy is now building into a Daedalus, excuse me, and we'll have it pretty soon. Just needs about 600 gold.
It's going to be a very scary Ember Spirit. I do prefer this kind of play coming out. It's much more fun to see, and we're at that point where a physical Ember really does start to take over a magical Ember at this point, right? Like the emphasis on these item buildups, the fact that Jamesy has found that farm anyway, and will probably still keep escalating during his push. It's just going to make him a majorly hard factor to deal with, which just makes it that much harder for TNC to find any of these pickoffs that they were finding earlier on.
Viper strike onto Nando. Of course, again, isn't an Aghanim Scepter Viper, so he can just afford to just spam those out. Eris now does have the Scythe device, which is quite scary. That AM not going to be as safe. Of course, Gabby didn't go for a BKB, so he really has no way of avoiding it apart from perhaps the counter spell. Bot lane, looks like they have initiated March. We'll swap out KP, but KP is still going to be in trouble. He does manage to run out of range. So, Cignal, they'll take the final outer tower for TNC. Roshan going to be up in about 45 seconds. So they can just wait out that 8 just before they try to push a high ground again.
Definitely, that is going to give them a lot more to play with as well. They would have to be a bit worried about the team fight that could break out. Although overall, I'd give Cignal a slight advantage actually in a tight area like that. They do have the Undying, the Tombstone's going to be a big part. The Gyrocopter enjoys it when people clump up. So does the Ember Spirit. The Centaur can get the control in that the team needs, and Van Lancer's just really annoying.
Caught out, BKB's up, Satanic popped as well. He's trying to just buy time for his team to help him out. Van, he'll run in. They couldn't quite kill him off in time. And now here comes Jamesy. It's going to be a lot of damage out of this Ember if they're not too careful. And it looks like they are at least going to end up finding KP once again on the Viper. Now Van looking for March. He will find him, but he cops a magic missile. But they found a pretty nice pickup in the Viper. Gabby is still split pushing the bot lane, though. He's trying to apply some sort of pressure to force them back. And he's going to go back up to that top lane, go after the T3, and he will be able to claim it. In fact, he might find the racks. They aren't going back. They're actually trying to find the mid-racks themselves. March swapping somebody out, but he's going to pay for it with his life. The buybacks fly out. Poison Nova committed as well. Now Gabby forgets about the racks. He wants to take the team fight. Jumping onto Van Nando, though. He'll turn around and fight Jamesy. He's doing so much damage. They found the gyro, though. The buybacks again flying out from the side of TNC. Jamesy falling lower and lower. Oh, Tims, he leaped into a sleight of fist. Now Gabby's still trying to find another target. He will find Grims on the Undying. An absolute mess in the mid lane. TNC do manage to defend, I suppose. I wouldn't go as far as saying it was really in their favor. There was a lot of buybacks being expended, though.
Definitely so. It's not the cleanest fights coming out from TNC. At the very least, they still hold on to their one set of racks. So you're probably going to be very happy about that. They didn't manage to get any significant damage done to those top set of racks on Cignal's side, though. But we are starting to see Gabby really come in line. I would like to see a defensive item up on him. He is going for an Abyssal first, but give him something like a BKB to play around with. You are going to be a bit happier. You're going to be much safer when you jump in. You basically negate the entirety of their control, and you can just be right in the middle of everyone perfectly fine.
Gabby's going to be scouted at that Roshan pit. Viper strike onto Eris is going to pick up a fair bit of damage out of that. It's Roshan. Are they going to fight? Jamesy could go for a steal. We'll scan out the Roshan HP again, but it is very, very low. There's a Stampede Van. He gets the hoop stomp off. Swap out from March. Roshan down. Where's the Aegis? Gabby's picked it up just in the nick of time. They're going to lose March on the Venge, but can they punish Eris? He'll get the scythe device off on the AM, but there's no follow-up damage to it. Van, he's dropping as well. The Centaur's gone now. They found the Ember with the bash, but Gabby, he's out of position. He'll blink out once again. Now KP gets chained up. The TP cancelled off. And it looks like they'll lose the Viper. But at the very least, they did manage to pick up the Aegis onto Gabby. They weren't able to steal it on the side of Cignal Ultra. Still, though, with two heroes with no buyback available, Cignal are going to rush straight through mid.
It's going to be a very hard defense for TNC here. They definitely need all their tools here to get that going. They do get the Abyssal up on Gabby, so he could leverage that in this next fight.
I don't know how effective it's going to be if they get Megged. Arrow, Nando almost takes it. There goes that secondary racks. They go straight for the third. Oh, there's that Abyssal coming in. He jumps straight on the Ember, but Jamesy does not go down. Now the hoofs stop. The AM's in trouble. Where's the scythe device? He used it previously. Looks like Gabby will be able to blink away. Arrow does land onto Nando. They are going to lose his final set of racks, but Gabby is trying to protect himself from Megas. He gets stunned up again, though. Still no BKB, and now the Hex comes out. Gabby can't afford to die, and he will still manage to blink away. But TNC have been Megged. Game just gets a hell of a lot harder now for this Radiant side.
Oh boy, it's going to be very hard to fight up against this. Of course, it's always hard playing up against the Megas. TNC, you would expect them to be a team that can make that happen. We are starting to see the higher tier drops coming in now as well. So that could really help the cause here for TNC, help out in these fights. They have a lot of ground to recover now. They are so far behind in terms of map control. Net worth is still looking okay. It's a 2k advantage for Cignal, which is pretty bad for TNC because most of their gold is just riding on Gabby anyway. But if they can somehow get a few good drops, and it looks like Gabby is actually queuing up the Divine, honestly, I'm not sure about that. Like, he has no defensive items, besides, I guess, the Manta, if you want to call it that, and the Heart. But he has nothing to stop himself from being stun locked. And that's been the key issue.
You have, right?
That's fair enough. You're at the point in the game where the damage is really lacking. So the Divine does make sense. It just doesn't feel great to be forced to buy that.
But he needs the True Strike as well, like, up against the Gyro. So, I mean, we can understand. I agree with you, though. It's definitely not the position you want to be in. The True Strike is going to help pick up against Nando's Butterfly, as Gabby doesn't really have an MKB or anything like that. It's rough. It's certainly rough for TNC, but they are holding on for now. Now a Nullifier that will come out from Eris. There's that Willis Shako showing up, so someone's getting plus 1,000 health from the side of TNC. I like the fact that they gave KP that timeless relic, so he has a longer debuff duration. Work well with the Viper Strike.
Definitely. It does give him a bit more utility as well. I mean, basically, he's just there to debuff. Almost like the Venomancer at this point in the game. Except I believe Eris just has a bit more utility with her item build. But they're just doing this to him. Throw out all his spells before you die. Make sure a lot of people are ticking down, and that's basically it.
Another Witless Shako.
Dyer's top shrine.
Drop the Cignal this time around. They will at least find some Dire Shrines while they're up top. Gabby's still holding on to that goal. He needs to save for buyback as well. What item do you even replace for that Divine? Like, are you just going to have to wait out that Aegis, I guess?
More than likely, probably going to have to be the Aegis. I don't see them ditching anything else. Maybe the Battle Fury. You could make a case that it's outrun its usefulness, especially compared to the Divine, but I'm not sure. It really depends on Gabby at this point. It does feel like he's going to be on the edge here. Once he buys that, he won't have buyback.
But they've got a mini Hex now as well. Princess Knife is going to be on Tim, so 1.5 second Hex on that first attack. I guess it's another way of controlling up either the Ember or Nando on that Gyro.
Alright, it does look like Gabby switched out. They are going for an MKB instead.
I mean, I guess it still works, but I mean, if
I was kind of into the, which is still lacking, even with out for right-click damage here. It's all still focusing on that magical kit, and it's just not enough anymore. Especially when you take a look at the HPs on Cignal's side. That's a 5k HP Centaur. That's a 3k HP Undying, who gets more strength as the fight drags out. You're not going to burst these heroes down.
certainly true.
KP.
Jumping in, they found KP. March again saving the Viper. He's still caught out though. Stampede there as well. Really want to kill KP off, and they do. They find anything else? It looks like they will find March on the Venge. Well, now the buyback immediately out from KP, which will go down. He has his own buyback, but it looks like Cignal are ready to try and finish off this game. Gabby, who's he jumped on? He goes straight after Grims on the Undying. So there's one hero gone. He'll buy back, but now Eris gets the head. Move swap. They don't have the pop damage yet though. Eris commits the poison over Gabby. He's still trying to fight the pipeline. Now the swap from Mark to Nando puts him out of position. They'll find the kill. And this should stop the push attempt coming up. Cignal. To make teams stop alone does make it so they stop this this ancient push that was coming from Cignal Ultra.
Oh, it's really good plays from March that are stalling out these fights, and the fact that Gabby can now hit stuff with his MKB is certainly helping. Like, he's actually pumping out some damage on these enemy cores. We are probably going to reach that point where a couple of heroes will hit that level 30. It looks like Gabby is set to be the first one, slowly inching towards that 29. And then up next, we would have Jamesy. So that's going to be a massive spike for both heroes when it does come out. And it's going to be interesting to see that in play here. Actually, we have not seen that happen just yet.
No, we certainly haven't. Grims has a hex up as well on the Undying, by the way. So, two-side device, although RML is going to spot him out. Grims will just blink away and then just casually runs through the edge. Now the Stampede, so he just keeps running over Cliff. And Grims lives. These spider legs look like a pretty curious kind of item.
They're kind of funny. Like, they do replace boots. They do count as boots, apparently. But I think they're pretty good. Like, 24% move speed, 30% turn rate is actually super undervalued. I think a lot of people never notice turn rate until you're playing against Batrider.
Roshan John jumping in a bit too early, though. Van will manage to get out, but he doesn't have Stampede or Blink available. Gabby just going to keep going, but Van does jump in again. March, he'll swap him out. There's the Aegis. Who picks it up, though? It's still off the deck. Nando, he runs in, but Tim's the one to pick up the Aegis. Now they are dropping low to Nando on this gyrocopter. Gabby can't afford to die. He does get away in the nick of time, but they lost KP, they lost March, and they're going to lose that Aegis on Tim's. No buybacks on either March or KP. Tim's, he does have one. He'll use it immediately.
Radiant's middle tower is under attack.
Gabby will buy a BKB now. Gets rid of the Battle Fury. It was a long time coming. He jumps in straight away onto that Venom, but the Venom manages to survive. No, Laguna, it will burst him down, but Armel needs to get the hell out of there. Gabby trying to hold them back and save his Lena. Now the Ancient is almost exposed. The tier 4s are so darn low, but Gabby trying to go after Jamesy. Moonlight Shadow will be there. Still Cignal moving forward. They almost find the die back on Tim, and they do. Mana Boy, though, will find in the end, but he buys back immediately. Nando falling very, very low to Gabby, but they find Armel Molina. He'll buy back as well. Gabby, you cannot afford to die like this. He's getting perma-stunned up. He's muted as well, but he turns around and man fights. It's not going to be enough, though. He dies, but he'll buy back. Now the Ancient half HP, straight back in. Nando so darn low. Grims as well, almost about to die, but the Ancient... Oh my. What an ending to the game. If it's in, John, it does end, and for the first time today, the gyrocopter works.
Radiant team
TNC
ban. Radiant
Predators
team
turn
ban.
to ban. TNC Predators turn to ban.
Radiant team ban.
TNC Predators turn to ban.
Seconds remaining. 5 seconds remaining.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We are here for game number 2 of this best of 3 between Cignal Ultra and TNC Predator. It is, of course, MLP Dota and John X Fire. John, game number 1 going to Cignal Ultra. Game number 2, I'd like to hear what you think TNC would or should do differently to game number 2.
TNC Predators.
Well, they banned the gyrocopter, so Signal's going to have to think of something else now.
Apparently, John, maybe have. I'll come back to John.
Oh, no, I had it muted by accident. I was going to say, TNC banned out the gyro, so they've got that. But they're probably the only team I've seen ban gyro
Yeah.
in this patch, I think. So interesting that Cignal is the team to force them to do that. But they've got to play the game on their own terms. We kind of saw it in the last game as well. It just feels like TNC, they're not playing as a cohesive unit. They're not playing as far in as they could. The coordination doesn't feel like it's there. The game plan doesn't feel like it's there yet. They have shaken up their draft. They have the Chen, really great early game presence, can melt towers down fast as well. And you've got that Doom, which we have seen to mixed success. We'll see whether or not TNC does run that as a support again, or if they do give it to KP to play around with. It all depends. Cignal, I actually really like their opening. The Puck and the Elder Titan gives them a lot of teamfight potential. You can really build a stable sort of lineup around those two heroes alone. They could probably go for the Void in the second phase if it's not banned out. That could work really well. You've got high mobility with that Puck. You could run it as a support even. That is what we've tended to see from most teams. So Signal's got a lot more flexibility in their draft, or at least flexibility that does make sense.
Turn to pick.
And TNC, without that void ban out, I wouldn't be too surprised if Cignal actually went for it.
Well, why the hell not? TNC, though, they have the chance to pick it up themselves if they do wish. Though I certainly agree that Cignal probably would love that hero right now. TNC,
10 seconds remaining.
they've got the Chen, they've got the Doom. What do you follow up with?
5 seconds remaining.
I wonder what position this Doom's playing. Like, are they giving it over to KP, or are they trying to run a support Doom again? Doesn't really feel like the support Doom matches the with the Chen, but I suppose only time will tell. No, it is going to be a core Doom as the Mirana does pop up. So KP Doom, I mean, he's had a bit rough. He's been playing Abaddon Viper most of the time. This is something different. Do you have?
It should give him a bit more presence. It should give him a bit more presence. I think if you made him lane with a Chen, that is super potent. Cignal, they do pick up that Legion Commander, so overall, based on how the games have been panning out, Cignal's draft is looking a bit stronger. They've got that Puck, which we've seen a lot of flexibility from. They've got the Legion Commander, which has consistently done well. I think these jungle changes really just help Legion Commander really come out onto its own. TNC, they fall back to that Dragonite. We have seen this hero do a lot of work for other teams. It stays alive so damn long if you don't have a right lineup for it. But there are cases where we see it falter. Specifically, we saw it really melt to a Drow Ranger of all things. And you can get stuck in those kinds of situations where you've got an ultra-durable core, but you guys just don't have the damage to actually kill the enemy team anyways. So the fights end up longer, but you end up losing. So we'll see whether or not TNC does run into that issue. They're going to need a really strong Boss 1 to give them the damage they need. Otherwise, they're actually looking pretty good. It's a really decent draft. I think the one issue is they don't have the hardest lockdown outside of expending a Doom on a target. The Puck could go in and out quite fine if you don't want to toss a Doom out. You're not going to be catching that Puck. And, you know, Cignal could still go for an ultra-slippery hero here as well. We could see the Ember Spirit come out once more. We could see something like the Storm Spirit, although that one is, I believe, again, that one was only picked up by Fnatic recently, at least in Southeast Asia. Is still an option there for Cignal if they want to try it out.
Predators turn.
Oh,
okay.
Slark will pop out.
That's a great response.
That's one way. It's one way of working out how to beat the DK, right? If you can steal the stats away from the DK, I suppose it does kind of work. I mean, you've got as well the Mirana who loves to leap away, but with that pounce, it won't be as easy once the Slark's in range. Is it really though a direct counter towards the DK? I mean, the high armor is still a massive problem.
5 seconds
Oh yeah, no, I'd say it is. I'd say the Slark really does enjoy these high strength heroes, mainly because he's just going to build up a lot more. He gets really, really strong, and that allows you to burst down everyone else quite fast, or at the very least build up for yourself while you're sieging towers. It makes it that much faster. But all the stacks you build up, don't forget Slark is a natural silver edge carrier as well. So that just works out quite nicely for Cignal. I like that response, and I think there's a lot of value in that pick. You're not going to be able to sneak in something like a Bloodseeker in TNC's draft anymore. I mean, I guess you could run it as a 1, but it's just very hard. And there's that slippery hero I was talking about. You don't have the best stuns for it. You're going to have to expend a Doom on either the Puck or the Ember Spirit or the Slark. One of these heroes will manage to get away. You don't have the hardest stuns from TNC.
That's very true. We saw last game, Jamesy, he did have a pretty darn good performance. Went the physical build, which is something you wouldn't really expect out of the Embers these days, but it did pan out very well.
5 seconds.
This time around, I'm sure he'll go for the magic build as he is up against that DK, which, you know, does have very, very high armor. Still, TNC, and he closes this off. You still need a mid laner. They still have, or excuse me, they don't have the laner. I thought they may have, but they banned it out themselves. What do you go into? Do you try something like the Brood again? No? Okay, so position 1 Void mid DK then?
Does look that way. It's not too bad. You do have some potency in that Chronosphere. TNC would be a team that does play around that kind of timing quite well. and it really screws over all these high mobility heroes from Cignal. You catch that Slark or the Ember Spirit, whoever's not inside, you just doom up, and you can't take control in these fights. You will have to build up farm on the Void and the DK just a bit. It's not really that farm dependent. Like, Faceless Voids, we've seen really pick off after even just Treads Midas, and they can just expend their chrono, find a couple of kills, or Treads Maelstrom. DK is the same kind of thing as well. Doesn't take too long to really start at least applying pressure to towers. So TNC, it looks a bit better off this time around. Cignal is still pretty potent though. Jamesy back in that Ember, we saw that last time. It was really potent, and it could cause massive issues here again.
Absolutely could. Still though, TNC, some great late game with their draft. I mean, you let the DK go too late and you let the Faceless Void get too late. It's becomes a real issue for the side of Cignal. They'll try and get the advantage early on with this draft and hopefully push through the mid game. TNC definitely want to drag this out if they can afford to. Of course, we haven't seen Armel on the DK. We've only been seeing Gabby, but I imagine it will be a similar performance between the two. Well, it's really just going to be about the lanes, like who gets the advantage first. But certainly for the Radiant side, they can't really afford to fall behind with the Slark and the Ember. It just will not pan out well for them if they do.
I think this time around, TNC, Doom for KP, should have a better time that offlane, which should help in their early game. Like, that's one thing with TNC so far. In the past 2 days, they've been giving KP some really passive heroes. They've just been kind of slow to start, slow to play, slow in lane. So just giving him something that is a bit more active, at the very least once you hit maybe like level 3, level 4, is a better sign. Perhaps KP can kind of show us that offlane performance we kind of expect from him.
Yeah, absolutely. We do have a quick pause coming out from TNC. Looks like Gabby may be having some connection issues going on. Of course, TNC, a lot of pressure. They need to pull off this win. Otherwise, they do lose their major slot, and Cignal Ultra will go straight through to the major.
Yeah, I mean, even if TNC does drop out, of course, they're going to be in the minor qualifiers, I believe. And if they go through there, of course, they can still go to the majors by winning the minor, which is a bit of a tall order. Don't get me wrong, that's going to be a very big one to do. But they still have that lifeline, I suppose. Would rather not go that route, of course. Both teams really don't want to have to play an entire tournament for a shot. They would prefer to just go straight up to the major, much safer that way. So TNC...
In all fairness to TNC, though, they've basically qualified for TI-10 anyway, so...
Pretty much. Well, with the way the teams have played, yeah, like, you've won one major, you're pretty much in the top for DPC. So, I mean, you could sit back and relax, sure, but I don't think you'd want to do that. It just kind of sounds a bit too lax, and I don't reckon TNC is that lax. They're just really caught out. They've just been really caught out by the patch, I guess.
Certainly can agree with that one. There will be maybe a little bit of a fight over those bounty runes. Top lane, they're going to say hello to each other as well. Of course, that position 4 puck, such an annoying hero to be up against. It just hits so hard. It's just always useful as well with that dream call.
The battle begins.
KP gonna walk, trying to steal this banner in, but Nando does pick it up. It will be a 3-for-1 trade once again for the side of Cignal Ultra, and Tim's is actually gonna come a fair bit of damage on his way out.
Yeah, that's gonna be rough. If Grims can keep applying that pressure, this offlane might actually not go as well as you'd want it to for TNC. The dual lane of Mirana Doom has some potential. I don't think the Doom's going to be really helping out and setting up for that Mirana anytime soon, though.
Probably not. But Tim's really doesn't seem to need it. Like, he seems to be able to land these arrows fairly consistently, even without the setup. Keep an eye on it though. Looks like Grims is not planning to make it any easier for the side. In fact, TNC, Tim's?
Damn. Oh, Grims. You never underestimate an Elder Titan who gets enough stacks in the Astral Spirit. You do not. You have to respect that big guy with a stapler gun. It hurts. It is a stapler gun, though.
It is,
Okay.
It is. Grims casually works in an office after he's finished with these games.
Ooh, man. I mean, you take a look at Doom. He has basically zero armor, right? The Basilius is giving him some, but this is something that Grims can really exploit.
Certainly can. Of course, we have to have a quick look at the other lanes, where Van is struggling a bit up that top lane. March is providing quite a bit of harassment. Unlike KYXY's build that we've been seeing over and over again, looks like Van has prioritized going for the moment of courage rather than the press the attack. So he doesn't really have as much right now. Well, now he does have the press the attack, so things go a little bit more back to normal. He certainly was getting abused early on while not having it. Meanwhile,
Definitely.
trading some harassment with March on the Chen. The puck has the position for. Like, his right-click damage is so darn high. It's very frustrating for March to have to even try to have this harassment with the puck.
It's going to be rough. Like, as long as Arius manages to progress through levels just fine, at least match the Chen, you're not really going to have a bad time in this dual lane. Sure, you're not going to harass out these heroes, but should be pretty okay where you are. I think he just wanted to reset. Probably. There was no one to chase. No one was slow.
Was he not TPing? Am I seeing things? His TP is not on cooldown. What was that animation?
Yeah, no. I'm not sure.
Maybe I was just seeing things, John. Maybe in a torn or something. Was just a denial. Of course, looking into that mid lane, Mel, top of the last hits board, 19 and 3 on the DK. Jamesy at 14 and 2, so Armel definitely seems to have the advantage. And well, while that's happening, Eris does find a courier. It was Gabby's on the Void, so he does take that out for a bit. But happy to trade farm for now. We're about 3.5 minutes into this game. Eris looking to see if he can find perhaps more couriers. Wild bot. Oh, there's a pounce that goes out. Nando, he will find Tim's on the Mirana, but there won't be much follow-up to it. In fact, Nando almost cops an arrow to the backside. He does barely avoid it. KP trying to apply some pressure with the Scorched Earth, and he certainly does force them to back off his Mirana.
Yeah, it's at these levels that the Doom and Mirana can really start applying that harass. Nando should be a bit careful. He's still pretty happy in this lane. 20-8, 21-8. Pretty much up there in the last hits chart, so doing quite well for himself despite it.
Mid lane, still favoring Armel. Of course, with the Breathe Fire, it's hard for Jamesy to really contest this. Of course, he does have the Flame Guard, but it's not really as effective as you would hope up against these DKs. Jamesy, take a few more creep kills, but Armel starting to get a bit aggressive. He does throw out the Dragon Tail. Doesn't have the mana for the Flame. Well, he does now with the Mango, and he will find it. Armel finding a very important pickup in the mid lane. It's going to certainly help his farm. And, well, James, you've got to be a little bit more careful up against the damage output of the DK.
It's going to be a bit rough here for Ember Spirit, just because that matchup does favor the Dragon Knight, mainly because, again, he just punishes sort of physical cores. He's way too tanky to bully out unless he gets a support rotation.
Well, meanwhile, bot lane, Tim's ends up finding the Order Titan. Nice little pickup from him. And they were just fighting over the bounty runes. Tim's eventually does get his revenge up against that ET. Two for 3 now. Less than 1k net worth lead for TNC. And everything seemingly going pretty smoothly for them. Surprisingly though, Gabby is a little bit behind in terms of last hits. Van has actually overtaken 29 and 4 on the Legion and 21 and 2 on the Void. It looks like the pressure being applied from the Cignal side is slowing him down.
it is very conservative play here from Gabby, understandably so. I mean, all he really has to play around it is one spell that does give him a bit of a escape mechanism, basically. So he's not able to pump out that harass himself. We did see March just trying to trade blows with Ares for a while. He's not really able to maximize his presence with the creeps to force Van out, which means Van can really just trade hits.
That's exactly what he keeps doing.
Catch us if you can. Dive on.
Back at bot lane, KP. Starting to catch up in farm. He was a little bit low in terms of last hits, but that was expected. Of course, with the Devourer, you can catch up in net worth pretty darn easily anyway, so it's not too much of a concern for him. It's like Tims may have a go at Grims, but no, doesn't throw the arrow out. Just wants to ensure that his Doom gets away from this Elder Titan. Top lane, March. Again, trying to harass out Eris, but Eris will just go in with the orb. Then just gets the hell out as well. I just want to contest these jungle camps. March, though, still trying to get them himself. He forced to back off. TNC starting to go towards, once again, the Ember Spirit. Arrow will fly in from as well, and the Flame Guard will eventually wear off, but he did have Remnant available, and he does barely manage to get out in time. Now, he had a regen rune bottled up as well, so he just returns back into the lane with full mana, full HP. It's like nothing ever happened. Meanwhile, Eris going to chase down Tims on the Mirana. Doesn't really have level 6 yet, so can't lock this Mirana down. Tims will just kind of juke him out, get back to farming in the jungle.
Yeah, again, we're just seeing very conservative plays from both sides, very controlled aggression as well, so you're not seeing anything too wild just yet. We are starting to see KP creep skip a bit, so he's at that point with the Doom where he can kind of just play far forward like this. He has his level 6 up. They are just killing each other's couriers as well.
Poor couriers. What do they ever do? Top lane Gabby will commit the first chrono of the game onto Van, but doesn't really have the damage output though still. They will chase him down and they do get a nice little bash. And so eventually March will be the one to pick up the kill onto Van. So first chrono of the game will be successful though. Eris gets bashed.
Oh.
Almost doesn't jaunt away in time, but he does get out. A risky play from him. Well, James, you're going to be a little bit careful in that mid lane as Tims was roaming around, but it looks like he will just remnant back out towards the jungle and start firing up camps there instead. And KP could be in big trouble as Nando now has rotated with two other heroes. KP does throw his Doom out and will run straight into the Radiant side base, but there's no way he gets out of that. The kill will go to Jamesy at the very least, so the Slark doesn't pick it up, but you still do get that permanent agility his way. Meanwhile, top Van falling very low once again and does end up going down on the Legion Commander.
That is the offlane for offlane. I do believe TNC is going to be much happier with that because they do expend a lot of time from Cignal's side. They did have to waste the Doom for that though. Still, that does buy them some space across the map, and they are keeping Cignal right in check.
Armel going after Grims, the Stomp will connect. But that'll be it, Grims will walk away safely. Now Nando will come in, doesn't really go for the pounce onto Armel. He's a few hits and walks away. Looks like Nando wants to be able to finish off that Yasha quickly to, start escalating in farm. He has queued up a Shadowblade next as well. Nando has been doing pretty well. 4.3k net worth on Slark, just behind the DK at 5.3, so Armel is still at the top. But in terms of timings, Nando should be able to be pretty effective. In fact, he finds a courier as well on his way to the Tide jungle.
Oh, all these couriers dying, Mike. It's pretty
sad.
Cool.
Very sad indeed. Still Nando. Gonna run into Tims now on the Mirana, though he looks like he wants to try and go for this fight. No pounce being committed yet. He holds out on it. Had the Shadow Dance available, but looks like he just didn't want to risk it. In fact, he's still roaming around. Does find himself a Kobold. bit conservative from Nando. He probably could have tried for that, but thinks better of it.
Yeah, I don't reckon he had enough damage through the pounce duration, so it probably wouldn't have been a kill anyway. The leaps would have been right there at the end of it, so it would have been a pretty hard one to pull off.
He's still sticking around up at that top lane. Looks like he may try for March, and now he does commit the pounce. Looks like March is a much easier target, although I say that. March just runs around the T1 tower. Moonlight Shadow comes in, and now Nando has to get out, but there's a chrono available from Gabby, and that is disastrous. They found Van as well on the LC. They won't have the damage up, but now Era's trying to find the trade, but there's a mech on March. He will survive, and now they will chase down this puck. Dreamcore comes out, Remnants in, March does get jeweled up and will give a victory away, and now they could fight Void. Do they have the lockdown? They certainly do. So what started off pretty badly for the side of Cignal does turn out into a positive trade their way.
I mean, you'd really prefer not to lose your pause one for that, but you did force out the chrono, you still found that void, and you got the dual win on your Legion commander. Overall, that is a bit of a win. Forced the rotation out from KP up top as well, so you've got some space around the map for a couple of other heroes to find some farm.
Tim's getting pounced on now by Nando. Does have 2 lead charges available, so Tim's will just wait till he's on the cliff and does get away, but now the Remnant in, and yeah, Jamesy, he's found him. Nice little double damage there for Jamesy as well. It's 6-6 now. The one saving grace for TNC is still the DK being played by Armel. He has his Blink Dagger now up as well on the DK, so I suppose he can start getting in team fights, but Cignal Ultra certainly isn't making it easy.
They definitely are. Cignal is still keeping pretty good in pace at 6-6. A 3K network lead for TNC is pretty nice to start out with. And they are still progressing in their itemization, but you can't afford to give Cignal any way back into this game. We have seen them claw back in and take the advantage later on, even if they have a bit of a rough start. So TNC has to play this consistently. They have to make sure those items come out and get used up in a positive way.
Mango Tree being found out by Nando now. See how they do use it. Just gonna hold on for now on the backpack. Because that vision from the Mango Tree is very, very valuable. Cignal may just put on, as we've seen multiple times. In fact, Nando does get lucky and find himself a boundary rune as well, so helping out the team a little bit. Looks like at top lane there is going to be an engagement as they jump in onto KP, though Doom is there. Arrow will not connect though on the Ember. Still Dreamcore holding everyone else back, letting the Ember get out just for now. Still he's copying a fair bit of damage as KP still chasing him down. The Doom should wear off very, very soon, and they just keep him alive. Jamesy somehow survives all this, but now the chrono. Gabby, he found 3 of them, and that should be enough to take all of them out, and it will be. Very nice play by TNC. It looked kind of bad for a while, but Gabby does save the day.
It's a massive win for TNC, and that should give them the tier 1 up top as well. They found some pretty big kills. The only saving grace there for Cignal was that Nando was not around, so he is still farming up. He hasn't progressed in items just yet, but he will soon.
Bot lane. The outpost being taken. Rotations are coming in from the Radiant side, though the puck does get caught out by Armel. Now James, he just wants to get out as he doesn't have the backup here. We'll just commit all his remnants to do so. There is a bit of a wraparound from Gabby. If he get lucky with some bashes, he could set up. If there's 1, there's 2. Nando does have Shadow Dance, though. This TNC weren't able to catch up in time to jump the Slark. Still, TNC certainly filling the groove now at 6K net worth lead at 15.5 minutes in. Now, it's starting to turn into their game to throws. I mean, with the Void, he's got his Maelstrom up. Mel farming so well as well. It's very hard to see TNC losing team fights for a very long time.
Yeah, it's certainly in their favor. They have all the tools needed so far, and Cignal, they're not quite there yet. They still are waiting for that silver edge on Nando. Still quite a way away. He also has the SNY, the Sanj queued up for that, so he could go for that as well. But 16 minutes in, a 7k deficit, and an advantage for TNC. They are kind of maximizing this quite well. They've taken a good amount of map control away. It is a bit of a better game one. They just got to maintain it a bit more. If they use the next few chronos well, they can really start to seal out this map entirely.
Looks like Van trying to use the space being given by TNC. He'll take the T1 top tower. Tims will just come in, take the siege creep. Tries to go for the deny with the leap, but won't be successful in doing so. The Cignal do at least get a tower for their trouble. They'll continue farming up. They understand they are falling behind. Nando will pick up the full Sergeant Yash now, so certainly some extra stats for him to try and make work through these engagements. He's going for that silver edge straight away next, and of course that is purely for that DK. Mel, though, not going to be too concerned. He's going for a BKB himself now on the DK, and still is at the top of the net worth by a mile. Armel just hasn't stopped farming this game.
Yeah, he certainly hasn't, and that is going to pay off. Like, he is just escalating and escalating. He's going to have that surprise BKB, and that's going to cause major issues here for Cignal. They don't really have anything to really melt him through just yet. They are relying a lot on massive burst from the puck, from the Elder Titan. Their physical isn't quite there. They don't have their breakup yet. So this farm that Armel is accumulating will pay off massively.
Looks like Eris is just going to rush an Aghanim Scepter now on the puck. If you have seen a couple times, it just seems to be very effective in just locking everyone down during those engagements. Of course, a double stun never hurt either. Cignal, again, just keeping away from TNC, not wanting to risk anything right now. Gabby, of course, has the chrono up, so it's certainly not a very good time for Cignal to try and find Eris. They get caught out of position, but Gabby will not pursue. Won't bother committing the chrono. He'll just leave this puck alone. Van as well, just hiding in the tree line, not wanting to get caught out with this TNC side. They'll both end up just trading outposts with each other. KP trying to fight back. Grims will be a little bit too threatening on the Elder Titan. KP will leave it be. So with TNC's hand, they have a BKB up now on Gabby, so chances are you're not really going to be able to lock him down unless you get the jewel from the Legion Commander, and he will jump in and go ahead and try and take a Roshan. Freeze that, by the way.
Let me quickly check.
It looks like it won signals, because Tim took it out.
Yeah, it ought to be then, unless, you know, he's just playing hard mode, which is a possibility, but highly doubtful.
Well, the Roshan's going, and Cignal knows it's going down. They are slowly making their way up. Smoke will come out in preparation for the attack that's sure to come from Cignal. Of course, you can just Echo Stomp to delay this as long as possible, and that Roshan getting very low now. Cignal, when do you make your jump? They'll continue to scout it out. Orb is there. Another stomp to be thrown out, but it hits nobody. Gabby, of course, still has the Chrono and the Roshan going down, but there's the puck. Eris, he gets the Aegis off the side of TNC. He will go down straight off the bat. Gabby, he committed the BKB in preparation to pick up the Aegis. Now Eris, can he get himself out? It looks like he probably will be able to, but no, there's a Dragon Tail coming out from Armel. They will be able to punish at least a little bit, but the rest of Cignal Ultra are just going to run. In fact, maybe not. They're going to go in. They found the Doom. KP just going way too far forward, and now Pims. He gets chained up. He does have one leap charge, but that's all he had. Down and they get the pounce as well. Nando will take him out. Now they're trying to fight back, take down Grims. There's the chrono. It's a pretty nice one, but do they have the damage output? I don't believe they do. It looks like they are going to lose the Void. They will find at least one more in the form of the ET, but he buys back. March will go down as well, and it's just a disastrous fight for the side of TNC. They just lost everything in that Roshan pit.
It was a really big play coming out from Eris, just grabbing that Aegis, forcing TNC to try to find something from that pretty wonky exchange. They do find a couple of kills. They did force a buyback out. First, they did get the die back on Eris in the end. It cost them 4 heroes, and that is a massive gold swing going back away of Cignal now. So they've got a way back in this game. Like, you have given a bunch of stats to Nando. You've given a lot of gold back their way. You've mitigated yourself down. You've kind of revealed your BKBs. You're down to 9 seconds. And this almost reminds me of the last game, just how that one went, how one bad fight kind of evolved into something else. TNC has to really play on point here. They can't afford to slip up like that, because Cignal is the kind of team that will take that inch and try to push it into a mile.
Yeah, well, you look at that permanent agility now, Nando. He's gone up to 6. So basically got 3 or 4 more agility stacks on that Slarky. You've got to be careful about letting those build up. Nando casually just has 171 base damage right now. And, well, he'll take the mid-tier 1 tower.
Dire's middle tower has fallen.
Just walk away.
Regeneration.
Of course, that net worth did go a little bit long for TNC. They had a 7k net worth advantage at the time for that Roshan fight, but now they are down to about 5k. Cignal would have got a fair bit of XP out of that as well. And yeah, it was quite a big dive back towards Cignal's way. So KP about to pick up a blink dagger now on that Doom. He just wants to make sure he can close the gap and perhaps just get the Doom off on that Ember. He is causing a lot of problems in these engagements. The Cignal smoked up. They go for. Abby would be lovely to find, and well, they get the chains off, but where's the jewel? There's the Dream Core. He commits BKB, but the jewel comes out. They've got him locked down, but where's the follow-up damage?
No.
They just left him alone.
No. Why?
There's no chrono available.
Tower is under attack.
Yeah, that was a strange decision from Cignal. Like, it looked like they were ready to commit. They did smoke up. They did go in with the Ember first, and they bail on Van. Just like that. That's rather surprising. But in the end, I suppose it's the BKB charge for a Legion commander. They didn't get the dual win, so you know you're kind of okay with Cignal. You're not going to be happy, but that could have gone so much worse, I guess.
Looks like just a bit of miscoordination from the side of Cignal Ultra. Still, 15 to 10, TNC's way.
Dire's bottom tower has fallen.
They do find that bot tier 1 tower thanks to Nando, so they're still finding objectives across the map for the side of Cignal. Nando will have that silver edge up quite soon. Just needs a recipe now. Or TNC. Keeping down bot, trying to protect that outpost. KP blinks forward, but the Dream Core will come out from Eris. Still, the ensnare is going to be there, but that'll be the end of that. Cignal do happily back out. They'll probably just go and try to secure the other outpost on the northwest side. You do finally see that Maelstrom as well popping up on Jamesy. It took a fair bit of time because he did opt to go for the Spirit Vessel first. But now you've got plenty of magic damage coming out from this Ember. They will indeed take that outpost before the 25-minute mark.
Should help them out just a bit. At the very least, the EXP is going to be split between Dire and Radiant, although...
Moonlight Shadow will be there. Grimm's going to get stunned up by Armel, but they purge off the stun Grims. The arrow will not connect. Gabby has the Chrono this time around, and the Doom will be thrown out straight on that Legion Commander. Just make sure he can't throw out the Jewel. They found Grims. They even find Grims' courier. No Chrono committal, of course, from Gabby. It wasn't required. With that, TNC, where do you head? Well, it looks like Jamesy will say bye-bye by giving him chains. He's got to be careful. Gabby still has Chrono. Does Remnant's back again. Now again. And well, there's the ensnare. They purge that off. They've got to commit the Chrono, and they do. He found both of them as well. There's not much damage going on, but the arrow does connect to help out Nando. He pounces through the void, goes after March instead. The Shadow Dance, the stun through the Shadow Dance, and Nando just wants to get the hell out now. TNC, though, want to move forward. They found the Legion Commander once again. Van trying to run his way out, but the ensnare's there. It looks like Van should end up falling, and does. TNC fighting another positive engagement. They'll head over to the top lane where they want to get that T2 tower, it seems. Perhaps even another pick off on a hero if they can. Nando.
Jeez, that's brave.
It is very brave. He had the Dark Pack to purge off the stun, but it's definitely risky.
Radiant's top tower has fallen.
They'll find the T2 top.
Signal has to understand when they can force out these fights. When you know the Doom and the Chronosphere are down, that's when you should be going. This is the exact time that Signal should be out there trying to find something to kill, because those big spells aren't around. So I would like to see a smoke come out, maybe when the Legion Commander does respawn, but that hasn't really paid out too well for Signal just yet. They still need to maximize these moments. When the Chrono's down, when the Doom's down, that's when you really want to force these issues out.
They aren't doing so quite yet. 2 smokes available on Grims, but nobody really willing to go for it. This looks like Nando's just going to go straight into a Satanic up next on the Slark. Not really the Snowball Slark performance you would hope for if you were the Cignal, though he has kept up in farm very well. Currently second in net worth, only second to Armel. Both sides just switching out the outposts. TNC though maintaining an 8k net worth lead, and John, TNC has 100% win probability.
Huh.
Since the start? Excuse me?
This is the service you pay for, Mike. Yeah, no, it's doing the same thing for me.
From minute 0,
wow,
100% win probability. How does that work?
Maybe Dota Plus knows something we don't. Apparently, this was just decided from the start. Predestined. So if TNC actually drops this, then, well, what does that say about Dota Plus, Mike? I'll
have to send an email, Mr. Gaben, have a chat about this, see how the AI is working if TNC do not win. That is the first time I've ever seen that. Apparently TNC's draft is just amazing. Unbelievable, in fact, just invincible. TNC. Line's being drawn out by Cignal. Mid and bot lane, they want to go.
They've got to push, but now the Chronosphere and Doom are up, so this is the exact wrong time to force a fight.
Certainly is. March, though, going to get caught out of the champ, but he's just baiting for Gabby. Gabby runs in, gets him. 3-man Chrono. The Slark jumped into it. Mel just going to melt them in that chrono. Van still alive, still trying to run away, but he will eventually go down. And now they chase for more. They got the Doom on the Slark. They got the arrow. They found the Ember with the stun. Jamesy, can you get out? It looks like you can, thanks to the stomp of Crims. Eris, though, may not be so lucky. He does jaunt away. KP is continuing the chase, and Eris will just run to his death. Just waste as much time as possible. He's actually wasting a fair bit of time. Doesn't actually jaunt, and TNC.
Oh, that was It's a good attempt.
We have the Aghanim Scepter Doom out now, by the way.
Oh, they actually went for it this time.
Yeah?
Yeah, that is actually pretty nasty. I think in this case, up against a Slark, that is going to hurt a lot. It just will. So, you've got this massive amount of damage, a good amount of stun, just consistently coming out now. It's going to be annoying to deal with. Again, Cignal, they have to understand when to force these fights. You don't force it when Chronosphere and Doom are up. That's not the time to smoke up and find these kills. The moment to find those kills were about a minute and a half before that. Like, while it's on cooldown, that's when you should be on the hunt. But Cignal is kind of forced to take this bad timings, and it is costing them. It's a 13k net worth lead now for TNC, 31 minutes in, 11 to 21. They do smoke up, so this is a really good time if they can find someone.
They're going to find KP. Nando.
Radiant's middle tower is under attack.
Just back off. Roshan. Nando. Pounces out of that. Alrighty then. They'll loop around, I suppose. They'll try again. Still, TNC, smoke on smoke action. They run straight into the Slark, and they want to burst him down ASAP. Nice dream call comes out from Eris, and now the stop as well. They're being controlled on the side of TNC. Gabby doesn't have the chrono available. It's a lot of damage so far, but nobody has dropped. They'll get KP on the Doom, but they are going to lose the Ember in the process. And in about 8 seconds, you have a chrono up, so Cignal, they want to get the hell out. Nando in a lot of trouble. He'll manage to run out of there. TNC, they might just go for a Roshan attempt. They are 2 heroes down, so it's not the safest time to try. In fact, they are still chasing Eris on the park, and they will manage to find him. 2 for 2 trade.
It is, I'd say it's still favorable for TNC there. Like, they managed to take out that Ember. They took that fight without having to expand Chronosphere and Doom because they weren't up yet. So now they can take the next fight with Chronosphere and Doom, and you're stuck in that same cycle for Cignal. You force a fight when those spells run on cooldown, you don't find anything big. The spells are off cooldown now, you have to play safe. And it's really TNC's game right now. They're just setting the pace of this game. They're under no pressure to really close it out just yet. They have so much room to escalate in all their heroes, and they've got control on the map. Cignal, they've got to find a way to really leverage this Slark. I don't think Nando's had the biggest impact just yet.
It certainly hasn't. Of course, now you've got an MKB up on Gabby, so he's going to be hitting like an absolute truck. The Moonlight Shadow up. Looks like they try, and yeah, they're going to go for the Roshan attempt. Gabby will get started. Still, they will scout it out with the ET Spirit. They've got to try and take this fight, Cignal. They don't want to allow this to go down for free, so they'll keep tabs on it once again. We saw last time Eris was able to steal the Aegis. And if I was Gabby, I'd probably make a slot right now in my bag for this Aegis, as he hasn't got one yet. The Roshan bashing non-stop today. Armel will jump in, but Jamesy will be okay. Dream Call now will be on too. They'll break onto KP, and now the Earthsplit are flying in as well. The Roshan, though, so down low. Eris again jumping in, but Gabby's got the Aegis this time. Fool me once, fool me twice. He'll chase forward now. And Chrono, he will find the Slark. Still pressing the attack, keeping him healthy, but not healthy enough, as Nando will end up dropping. And well, Gabby, he wants more. Bashing on demand to Van. Echo stop though, massive from Grims, just stopping them in their tracks, but Armel does not care. He wants to go high ground. Only problem is there is still a tier 2 tower.
I mean, they find all the big cults they want. They manage to take that Aegis out. They still have the Doom up. They only expand a Chronosphere. So they can still force something out. And Cignal, their backs are up against the wall here. They're just dropping in these fights. They have to find a way back in. I think one thing that's all is the fact that Jamesy went for the magical build. We're well past the point where that's effective. So he has to try to rush his level 25 and try to maybe work an Ags in if he wants to be relevant.
The tier 2 tower now going to be forced down by TNC. Still Eris jumping in, KP looking for that Doom. Dreamcore will be there. Now Echo Snap is actually quite nice. It's a nice setup. They get the chains off as well. The Void stuck Gabby. He's getting very low, but he pops the BKB. It looks like that'll be enough. TNC do back out. The tier 2 tower though remains standing for Cignal, and they want to continue going for punishment. They see March on the Chen. They don't get the chains off though. So March will be fine. Meanwhile, Nando keeping tabs onto Armel, gets the pounce off as well as the break, but the BKB TP is going to be there, and Armel will be perfectly fine as Van was not in range to get a jewel off.
It's going to be hard for Van to get those duels off. Anyway, he doesn't have a blink, and we've seen a lot of Legion commanders do this. They just kind of don't get the blink, which really takes away from the kit. You can't go in and disable someone straight off the bat when you have no way of closing that gap.
Dire's top tower is under attack.
$16K net worth lead for TNC though. Pretty darn good right now for this Dire side. Was very close to forcing this to a game 3.
Radiant's bottom tower is under attack.
Gabby now. Start forcing down that bot tier 2 tower. They'll find it.
Bottom tower is fallen.
Cignal just kind of running around the map trying to push out the mid creep wave. TNC though, they have the chrono up. They may put enough to just keep going to the C3. That's exactly what they do. Mel pops the dragon form. He has a satanic available if he gets in trouble. We've seen this before with these DKs. They take these towers so darn quick. Nando shows himself on the slug, but looks like they aren't really willing to commit to defending this Rax. They'll fortify though. Now Doom will be there. Who they found? It is actually going to be Eris on the puck. So call no slippery puck in this team fight. TNC. Well, now going after the Ember. It's actually a lot of pressure. Now the Chrono as well. He caught the Ember. Get rid of him. Grim's kind of just standing there chilling out right now. Nando trying to fight back onto Gabby. He will heal up full HP. TNC is still very healthy, and now they come back in. Armel, he gets his Dragon Tail off. Nando trying to run. Gabby not there in time. But it's okay for them as they'll head off to mid. There is still a tier 2 tower remaining in the mid lane, but it looks like they should be able to take it down. Or maybe not. Backdoor protection, it won't matter.
Doesn't matter. Oh boy, TNC, they're just really finding every single thing here. They take out that bot set of racks really cleanly. They just back off. The rest of the high ground is open now as well. No more outer towers left for Cignal. And their shrines are going to be taken out fairly soon. They still have that one shrine down, but I'm sure TNC won't leave that up for long. 13-27 at around 39 minutes in. 23k net per lead for TNC. Dota Plus, still 100% for TNC. Just dead. 100. Right from the start. Minute 0, TNC. Like, gosh. Is it because they won a major? Is it immediately biased? Like, what is that?
We'll find out, sir. Cignal gonna smoke up. Armel, this could be a big pick, but no, he blinks at the perfect time. There was actually a sentry ward scouting out Nando, and they missed their opportunity. Again, this was a moment where Gabby didn't have the chrono up.
Radiant are
TNC, they might go for a smoke even without the chrono. They just don't care. They'll move in. Cignal, can you pull off this team fight? So far behind, any victory would mean a lot of golden XP going their way. Well, Armel jumps in, straight with the stun, onto that LC, and now the arrow as well. He does manage to force staff away, just barely, but Armel can't really get the damage out as the stomp is there. Meanwhile, a Doom in the backlines. They have found what looks like the Slark, and they do take him out. So that's one gone. The main source of damage now, Eris, going to be chased down by Armel. He'll get the kill onto 2 now. James, you got to be very careful to die on this. Emma Spirit, he tries to remnant away, but Armel is still on the chase. He'll remnant forward even more, but they found the backlines. They've got Van on the LC. It's a 3-for-0 trade without the chrono being used, and Gabby will now have it up.
That's a very scary prospect for Cignal. They need to somehow hold this high ground up against a Chronosphere without a buyback on their Slark and still somehow win out. And at the very least, James, he still has buyback if he does die. It's a rough time for Cignal.
Radiant's top tower has fallen.
TNC will get to work
Top barracks are under
on that top racks. That'll be the secondary racks of the game going down. There's only one left in the mid lane. They'll buy back on Van. TNC. So they're going to go ahead and push in that mid creep wave a bit. There's no real need for them to rush, but they have the chrono, so there's not really a reason for them to back off either. They do have the Doom up in 25 seconds on KP as well, so perhaps they just wait that out. They'll go for the Shrine first instead.
Radiant's bottom shrine has fallen.
Looks like the Satanic is now coming out onto Gabby as well. The only thing you're really lacking is an Aegis, but there is still a bit of time before Roshan is up. In fact, I say that, but it's actually a very quick Roshan, 15 seconds away. Ooh. Cignal cannot afford to allow it to go down. It's so hard to fight, like 30k net worth lead for TNC. How do you even fight into that? Oh, no. We're about to find out as Grims will get caught out on the Elder Titan. And all you can hope for now is a defense from Cignal Ultra. As TNC make their way to that Roshan pit, the big man is up. They'll get started. Cignal will not be there to contest at all. So it's a free Roshan going the way of TNC. It looks like Jamesy was in a little bit of trouble, but he will remnant back towards his base.
That gives Armel his Ags as well from the Roche. So we've got the Black Dragon.
Black Dragon is out. This is a very, very painful experience coming from Cignal. It is very, very hard to stop that Black Dragon, as we have found out over the past couple days. And there it is once again. It's up and down the cliff. Backdoor protection, that's very funny. They are going to jump in though. Nando gets started on the Void. Does absolutely nothing though. Dream Call is in the back by Eris. Now March also being taken down by James, but he's not down quite yet. Now, who have they found there? It is Tim's on the Marauders. That's a good start. Now the Earthsplitter flying through. KP losing half his HP, and Armel though just man fighting back. He'll take down the Elder Titan, and now the Chrono. Gabby found 3 of them after respawning with the Aegis, and it looks like that may make it game. The buybacks are coming out, but can they really defend this final lane of racks? It doesn't look like they can, as they will lose the LC now with no buyback available. And that is Mega Creeps coming up for TNC. They head straight towards the T4s, but the GG has been called by Nando. I mean, we go to a game 3 for this lower bracket decider.
Yeah, that's a good sign of life coming out from TNC. They played this one much better. I guess Dota Plus was right, Mike. That was 100% TNC from minute 0. We'll see whether or not Cignal can turn that around in game number 3. That's do or die for them. Of course, if they drop, they still have the minor qualifiers to play for, but you really want to get into those majors. And Cignal, they're very hungry.
Dire team ban. Dire team pick.
Ban it out as well. Perhaps Cignal goes for it. Like, there is that possibility. Be too surprised if TNC went for it after this.
Does seem like it'd be decent for Cignal. I mean, they've got the Void. The DK could just stay out of the Chrono. They still have the option for the Venge as well if they want to go that. But
Oh,
I like this. The Skywrath Mage comes out. That's something we don't see very often. But it does pop out in conjunction with the Void and the Elder Titan. It is quite potent. And now if TNC do want to go for the DK, there is a direct counter in that Skywrath.
yeah, it's going to be a very painful time. Play that DK, you're just going to melt right through. TNC do pick up the Beastmaster, so now you've got two tools to stop the Faceless Void from having a very seamless Chronosphere. I like that pick from TNC. It's really focusing on that Void, but he is key to most teams. When you pick that Void, he's going to be the center of attention. You're going to be playing around that Chrono every single time.
But this does mean that the Doom's playing support then, right? So it's a March Doom and it's a KP special on the Beastmaster.
Yeah, but that's kind of
Ultra.
that's counteracted by the Abaddon.
Very nice pick by Cignal Ultra.
It's like one decision counteracted by another. So you have the support Doom, and that can be quite rough, but you do have Cignal. They've got the Abaddon. That one has had a bit of a rough time as well. You can protect your Faceless Void a bit better. It's going to be interesting to see whether or not, with the strong supports that Cignal does have, whether or not this Abaddon is going to have a better time, because quite frankly, overall, it has not had a good time.
No, it definitely hasn't. Of course, TNC Predator goes straight into the TA, so there's our Mills who are popping out.
10 seconds remaining.
We haven't seen much of the TA. It has been very effective in the games that we have seen it pop out. Cignal Ultra are yet to also choose their mid lane, so they can definitely go for the Ember Spirit counter if they do wish. Of course, there is still one ban for TNC, so they could always get rid of it, but I imagine they already expect the Ember Spirit to come out for Cignal. Unless they were planning to run a Skywrath Mage core.
Turn to ban.
I don't think that'll be the case though.
It would be a bit rough. I don't think that would work out too well. I feel like the hero is still going to be really good in this line. Of course, natural combination with the Void, you're just going to be able to do that, dish that damage out you need early on very quickly, so there's a lot of value in that. I like the ban out from TNC. That Ember Spirit would have caused a lot of issues for their TA, so this is just giving Armel that much of a better time down mid. We'll see how else they close out this draft. It does feel like they will need a safe laner, of course. We are looking at Gabby's here that still has to pop out.
10 seconds remaining.
I mean, they could go for the safe choice in that lifesteal we've been seeing, but it doesn't work well up against the Void. They'll go for the Chaos Knight.
Okay. I like that. They don't have any real way of illusions this time around from Cignal. You can really melt the backline in this case. Sky is just going to be very vulnerable to Chaos Knight. You have enough team fight and control from the rest of your team that you're not going to be too worried. You do require a bit of farm early on, but you can definitely buy space for that TA as long as you play aggressively. So you have to play aggressively with your Doom and Beastmaster, find those early pickoffs, keep them busy, away from your TA, while she's still farming up. You will still need maybe an early Midas or early Armlet, depending. You should be pretty active on the map. I like that pick. Cignal, they've got to pick a mid laner now that can deal with that Chaos Knight. I guess the OD is still in the pool. That is something that they could fall back to, and it would certainly play out quite nicely up against TA, up against the CK. Pretty much everyone is just going to melt to a hero like that, so a lot of value if they go for that OD. They go with a Timber instead. Fair enough. Each strength heroes quite well, so it's going to cause havoc up against that Chaos Knight early on at the very least. It's going to be interesting to see that laning though.
I mean, in the end, with the reactive armor, Armel shouldn't be able to do too much, right? Like, even with the Mel Deso, although it's great, the Timber is always going to have the reactive armor to kind of combat that. We've been seeing the Timber banned out so much over the past couple of days. This is the first time we've had the pleasure of seeing it pop out in a game, and it's the last game of the whole closed qualifier for SEA. I don't know. It should be interesting. It definitely does do well against the Chaos Knight. Mind you, you are picking this into a Doom, so that could be somewhat problematic. Of course, like you mentioned, in the laning stage, Armel should really have no problems.
Yeah, it's one of those times where we see that Timbersaw mid again. I think we've seen it a couple of times before. I'm not completely fond of it. It does work out nicely, I think, with the spacing changes as well to mid lane. I'm not sure how much flexibility you have as a Timbersaw nowadays to really zip in and out as the game goes on in that lane, at least in the laning phase, of course. We'll see. The one key thing, at the very least, for the Timbersaw is it comes online fast. It doesn't require farm compared to the TA, who will kind of just rice farm come around 10 to 20 minutes. They're just conducting that jungle until that zone blinks up, at the very least. So you should expect a bit more activity from Cignal, and you should expect TNC to take it easy from Armel. It will be down to Gabby and KP to pick up the pace there, to buy them time. So one of the key things for TNC is giving Gabby that good start. We have seen CKs fall behind before, and they do not flash farm well. So once you go behind, you're just really behind for pretty much the rest of the game.
Certainly are. We had an experience with that the other day where it just seemed like they could never get the CK online. We'll also have to keep an eye out on the build of Gabby. Whether he does go for the armlet into the Heart Rush, which we saw the other day, and it just didn't work out. Of course, a lot of pressure on KP. It's not going to be an easy game for him. Plenty of raw targets he needs to go for it, but you do have to watch out for that Abaddon Aphotic Shield. Can just purge that stun off.
Miles away.
So he does play this hero quite a lot. A lot of pressure between both these teams to try and pull off this win. Cignal Ultra, though, definitely feeling much more pressure. I mean, this is their first DPC event they're fighting for. It's the closest they've ever gotten, I believe.
The battle begins.
Well, they'll get started. Looks like top lane. They are actually going on to Nando right now, and Nando will be able to time walk all that damage off. Grims will be there anyway, just in case. Of course, we saw last game, or the game before, I believe, Grims was on the Elder Titan, and he was quite scary. You've got to be very careful with that Astral Spirit. He did manage to get first blood on Tim's just by right-clicking, so we'll see if Tim's tries to avoid it this time or falls for the same trap.
You really don't want to be copying those right clicks from a hero like this. And Grims is trying to set himself up there, but it looks like Tim's knows better now. He's staying a bit further back, so not going to have that silly slap fest we had earlier on.
It's mid lane, Jamesy up against Armel. Should really just favor Armel for quite a while, as he could just spam Refraction, and Jamesy won't be able to do much about it. In those reactive armor charges at level 1 really isn't much at all. You can already see Armel really applying the pressure to this Timbersaw. In fact, he's almost got him down. Jamesy has to be very careful. Does commit a lot of whirling deaths towards Armel as well, so he does lose quite a bit of HP. Of course, bot lane, Gabby on the CK. Will be there with March on the Doom, and they have Van and, of course, Eris there on the Skyrath. Van playing that core Abaddon role, it seems. Shouldn't have too much of a hard time in this lane, farming up as the Abaddon. There's not really much that can shut him down, especially while he's got his Skyrath there. But speaking of the Skyrath, he has to be careful, as that chain lightning that March has taken from the neutral creep does a hell of a lot of damage. But while we're talking about that, Jamesy does end up losing his life to Armel in the mid lane.
That is to be expected, right? This is something we've been talking about since the draft. Timbersaw is just not going to have a very good time up against that TA down mid. And Armel certainly does abuse that spell kit to really just force Jamesy to go back to the base.
A cheap spell as well, 50 gold for for 140 damage, and it bounces on the Doom. Was top lane Grimm's falling very low on the Elder Titan now. KP going up with Tibbs, and they do find the kill. Very nice play. The Void will be forced to time walk some damage off. Nando not having the greatest time in the world. It's just very hard up against the Beastmaster. You've got those balls there, but as well as that, Tibbs is always around as well to dish out the damage. Speaking of, look down to that bot lane where March almost goes down to the Doom. And Eris, rather than chasing the Doom kill, went for the Courier of March.
That actually hurts March a lot more. He does not have the mana to TP home, and he probably is just going to be stuck in this lane unless he goes for a suicide.
Well, Eris does end up killing himself off. Unfortunately for him, March does get the gold for that. So, what can you do? Just needed to deny himself off one way or the other. Mel, I mean, both heroes are trading pretty uncontested in this mid lane. I don't know which one's more of a concern, though. Seems like giving the TA way too much farm early on is going to be problematic. Then again, a Timbersaw can be very, very painful. Tim's, speaking of painful, finds a very, very important courier pickup. A lot of Nando's items were on there, and he's going to not have them for a couple minutes now.
It does seem to be part of TNC's game plan to really just hunt down those couriers, make it harder for Cignal to ferry out their items to their cores, and that certainly does hurt in the laning phase, especially if you find something big like the safe laner in mid.
Jamesy almost goes down to Armel, though Eris does come in to try and help out. He still tries for Jamesy, but Jamesy with those reactive armor stacks has healed up quite a bit. Armel will use Refraction and will survive another day. Salves up.
I saw them minding from miles away.
Armel gets the all chat. Eris will give him a concussive shot back. Jamesy remaining on very, very low HP. Doesn't really seem to mind anyway. He does finally back off out of the mid lane for a bit, though.
Dire's middle tower is under attack.
3 bounty runes already going to the way of Cignal Ultra. Gabby does manage to find one for the team. TNC not really prioritizing those bounty runes at the moment. Would rather just sticking in the lane, as they are pretty much winning every single lane. You could make the argument that the mid lane is still an even trade between Armel and Jamesy, but Armel has found himself slightly ahead.
We're reaching that point as well where the TA can just slip into that jungle and farm up a bit more. Armel does have a 1-level lead over Jamesy, and it's that point where Timbersaw can melt through the refractions with Chakram now, but we're not seeing the silly Timbersaw come out just yet.
It does take a bit more time than that for the silly Timbersaw.
Is under attack.
Still, he's just prioritizing farm for now. He's got the Soul Ring up. He wants to disrupt Armel in the jungle and does manage to steal a creep away from the TA. Just return straight back into the lane. Still, Armel's net worth not really suffering too much. He's almost at 3.2k, well ahead of anybody else. He's just juggling between that jungle and, of course, the lane, and, of course, look up at that top lane. Nando on the Void has really been struggling. 2k net worth, nothing to write home about, and KP has been making his life very, very hard.
This is going to be very hard for Cignal to recover from. Oh, an aggro lands in as well. But it's going to be hard to recover from this one. The Void farms okay. It's not the fastest in the world as a flash farmer. You can still make it work, but you really want either a Maelstrom or a Midas to accelerate that farm for you and also enable you to make use of that early chrono. Without any of those coming out, heck, without even a power treads up on Nando, his level 6 is really not going to be as impactful as you'd hope.
top lane. They are going to try and gank KP now. He already took that tier 1 tower. Concussive shot does come out. They should be able to get the echo bump off, though no, they don't really try. And surprisingly enough, they actually leave KP alone.
You know, Mike, I want to point
Yeah.
something out as well, just really quick. Check the win probability. It's just a die. I think it's busted for the die right now for us, for some reason.
All right, this one I don't know about. The 100% for Cignal Ultra.
Radiant's
Well, Gabe, we'll see if Gabe is correct this time, Johnny. He was correct last time. So, I'd be impressed if he was. Armel, double damage rune on the TA now. Has a nice little trusty shovel for himself.
I like this item build-up from Gabby as well. He is going for the armlet, so he wants to be active early on. This is exactly what you want to see, especially when you're playing with that TA who will require some farm time. I mean, even the progression towards that blink is going to be pretty fast. He's just about 700 gold away, but you'd still want the Desolator on top of that anyway, and that just means you are going to have to buy some time there.
Well, Gabby's been farming pretty well. Like, they haven't put any pressure on this man. It's unlike the last time we saw a CK where there was a lot of pressure. Gabby just free farming right now. Van hasn't been able to do anything on the Abaddon to stop him. And Van's farm has struggled a hell of a lot. 2.7k net worth. Just behind his own Void at 2.8. TNC has complete control over this game so far.
Radiant's middle tower.
Jamesy at least finds a courier off March, I guess. Don't think March will mind too much.
Radiant's middle tower is under attack.
Van. Ganked up here, but Nando is there with Jamesy. They have the Chrono available. They want to kill off the CK.
Oh, no.
But that Chrono is not the one they needed, and March won't mind dying for that. Oh my, that's a big mistake. Nando will stick around though. We'll steal some creeps off Gabby, but
Dire structures are fortified.
he's not going to be happy about that one.
Oh, definitely not. You can see he was going for the greedy play, trying to catch both. He just kind of misses out on it. And unfortunately enough, that does mean that the spell isn't as successful as you'd want. They do get that support kill. It's still not ideal. We always talk about that timing around the first chrono. And you do, really, you know, just getting a kill is kind of good, but it doesn't feel like it's enough.
Looks like Gabby's starting to get active across the map. Grim's going to be the target. He does go down to Armel, and now Jamesy trying to punish back. They'll get the tier 1 as well. And looks like Jamesy may lose his life here. He's really not as tanky as you would hope. 24 active rearmor stacks. It will be enough, or maybe not. Armel can't quite take him out. They will back off. I mean, they got the tier 1. They got a kill. Now Gabby rotates to the bot lane where they get the Doom off on the Void, and March actually escapes with his life intact. They won't find the Void though.
Oh, the arrow? Oh.
Tim's trying to sneak one while they weren't watching. Won't find it. Good attempt though. So a 4-1 though. 4k net worth lead for TNC 11 minutes in. Pretty damn good lead. And these towers, they're still melting. I mean, KP's still forcing in this top lane. Van's been forced to try and defend that. The bot lane's now being pushed in by Gabby. And this is just buying more space for Armel, who already has the blink up, and who have the Desolator up pretty darn soon.
TNC is really hitting all their timing here. Every single thing that should be happening is happening. In fact, it's going really fast. The fact that that tier 2 up top isn't very safe, the fact that the Timbersaw can't just go between that tier 2 and tier 3 to find that farm, or you're just not getting the maximum potential from that Timbersaw. What you tend to see is, at this point in time, you're big enough, you maybe have a pipe, or you maybe have a Vanguard or Hood of Defiance, and then you just play between tier 2, tier 3. annoy the hell out of someone by shoving in the lane that way. It's not happening just yet. They're forced to respond to TNC's movements.
Mine.
Bot. Nice stomp out onto 2. Do they follow up with it though? No, they definitely do not. Nando does have the chrono available. He wants to try and go for another hero pick-off. They'll just force down that bot T1. I don't believe TNC will even try to defend this, and there's really no need to.
Radiant's bottom tower is under
They'll just let it go down. Nando will eventually take it for himself. While that's happening though, TNC will find something even better in the Roshan. And with Armel there, with the meld strikes, and with KP with all his creeps, it is a very, very quick process.
Not only that, but Armel had a very fortunate double damage rune, so they do take that Roche uncontested, widening their net worth gap to 6k in favor of TNC, 4-1, 13 minutes in. Van, I don't think you want to be there.
No, certainly not. He does have borrowed time. KP does have Raw if he really wants to commit it, and he will, but there are TPs coming in. Eris trying to help out. Armel is not afraid though, and he will go in and clean him up, and now Eris could be in trouble. Armel, not really much mana to play with. He does have the Aegis, so does have a secondary life if he wants to push the limits. They will not, however. They'll be happy with that. And I can't blame them. There's no need to overextend. They're just finding everything they need. And if this game keeps up the way it is, Cignal Ultra could be losing very, very quickly.
Dire's top tower.
It's really down to the fact that Cignal has not been able to maximize their combo. We haven't seen a big chrono with the Earth Splitter, with the Mystic Flare really coming out just yet. Cignal, they need to make it happen. That's what their draft is all about. It's just not happening.
Dire's bottom tower is under attack.
Farm suffering all over the place for Cignal. Like Nando's still trying to get that Maelstrom up. He'll have it relatively soon. Suppose you could make something happen, but you could look at Armel. They're so up now. BOT's come up on KP, so he has high mobility. Of course, Gabby has the armlet, and he's going for what looks like an Echo Saber up next. Bot lane, they are going to engage onto Jamesy, who is melting to Armel. They will aquatic shield him up. Doom will be there on the abandon, and now Chrono.
Oh.
It is pretty darn nice with the Mystic Flare. They'll take down KP on the Beastmaster. They try for March.
Oh.
They've lost Grims, though, and now it looks like they may want to back out. Full Cignal Ultra though, Jamesy is taking a lot of damage off that CK and not really being too phased by it either. And so although it kind of looked good for TNC, they do end up losing out 2-1. And you're starting to see Jamesy on that Timber just a little bit too tanky for Gabby to try and take out.
Certainly is. I think that's going to be an issue for the next at least 5 to 10 minutes, specifically on Jamesy. That's really just the moment when Turbosaw is nigh unkillable. Once that Guardian Greaves is up as well, it's just going to be obnoxious, right? So Jamesy should be able to get a little bit more done.
Eris is down. Mel does find the kill, but it may cost him the Aegis. He will refract up. He's surrounded, though, by quite a few heroes, but TNC is coming in to try and help out. There's the Aegis going. Grim's Echo Stomp is not going to be there in time. The Roar from KP will push him away, but Armel still copying too much damage, but no, the Glimmer Cape will save him, though. No, Nando, he does find it in the end. Now Tim's just trying to get the hell out of there. And Armel got a little bit greedy, but March, he will find a trade in the form of Grims. Can they punish further? Cignal still trying to run away. March, who are you aiming for? He's going after Nando, and here comes Gabby on the CK. Still, though, it's a 1-for-1 trade once again, but they do find the Void. And for some reason, they decided to drop a mango tree in the middle of all that. It does get chopped down by KP immediately. The man hates mangoes.
Well, in the end, it is still a slightly more favorable trade for Cignal. Just taking out that TA is still a pretty big win for Cignal, just because TA is worth a lot more. So Cignal gonna be pretty happy about that. That does let our Void finish up Strum as well. So gonna be doing a bit more damage overall, speed up the farm. And Cignal, you know, they're the guys now with a draft that plays around that timer. Void Ultimate gonna be up in about 15 seconds. They need to make something happen that time scan. They need to find a big kill, find a big pickoff, and just keep doing that every single time. I think if Cignal can keep that up, this deficit of 6k is not going to matter too much in a few minutes' time.
Well, Mel looking for more already. He just respawned up. He wants some heroes to take out. He won't get lucky enough to find anybody quite yet. But Nando, on the low ground, has Chrono up.
Dire's bottom tower has been denied.
We'll see the Echo Saber now up on Gabby's CK, so a lot more damage output on him. You can really see the urgency in TNC this game. They just aren't willing to wait. They want to keep forcing fights and making it very hard for Cignal Ultra. Gabby forcing the creep wave towards that tier 3 tower. Jamesy will be there to defend on the Timbersaw. Cignal just sticking as a team, not splitting up, not giving any kind of leeway to TNC to try and get a pick off. TNC do still hold the net worth lead at 6k. Mel at 10k net worth right now on the TA. Trying to go into that BKB. And you'd imagine once the BKB is up on TNC, they may actually just start forcing the tier 3 towers.
Definitely nothing holding them back from getting that done. So just waiting out on that one big item. Of course, you have to respect Cignal. They still have that team fight up. They do have the Chronosphere up, every single spell up, and they are just clumped up as 5. They understand that they don't have the map control to take these fights to TNC, but if they can somehow bait TNC in, their counter fight is going to be really good.
Oh, 20-minute
Dire's
is about to
top
hit.
tower is under
Of course,
attack.
both teams going to start fighting over outposts. Nice arrow from Tims. But they will still get the outpost. But look at TNC immediately trying to force in that tier 2 tower. And sometimes it's a trade you have to make. Do you want the outpost? Do you want your tower to remain? Luckily for Cignal, TNC does not have any creeps in the mid lane to really try and force that tower down. So they will be forced to just push in that top creep wave once again and just maintain the Dire control, rather the control over the Dire jungle.
Almighty money. Regeneration.
For the hunt.
Cignal gonna smoke up. Again, Chrono is up. They're ready to fight now. Be massive if they could find a big pick-off like Armel. But he does have his BKB up now, so he may be willing to fight as long as that Chrono is not available. It is, though.
Dire's top tower.
Continue making their way towards Armel. He does run the opposite way now, so it looks like they will completely avoid any kind of engagement.
Dire's bottom tower is under attack.
Now TNC once again in that Dire side jungle.
Shadows take us.
Could be dangerous for them, but they pop the Moonlight Shadow and it looks like they want to try and force a fight. Nando. Oh, he's going to be there. Oh, no, he does get caught out and they caught March as well, but the arrow connects from Tims. Still, they do get the TA kill. That's a massive deal for the side of Cignal Ultra as they try to chase KP. So they will lose out on that, but they find something even better in the form of Gabby. And that CK just didn't seem to do anything. The Phantasm Illusions were just missing.
Radiant's top tower.
And Cignal win a massive team fight. They got both the position 1 and 2 of TNC.
That's some really good game sense coming out from Cignal. Just having the dust on hand, popping it right then, allowed them to figure out they were being rotated on. They just landed a really good Chrono. It's looking good when they got hit, but ever slow to follow the damage. Immediately they got Armel, who is the main damage right now. And once he was done, it was just very easy for Cignal to clean it up. So that's exactly what they need to do and what they need to keep doing. Just try to find those kinds of fights. Eventually you will turn to touch yourselves. You've also got a lot of key items playing out now on a few cores. And Mjolnir was up for Nando in that last fight, and now they have Jamesy with their Guardian Greaves, so he's going to be much harder to kill off. The entire team is just going to be that much tankier, and that's going to make it much harder for TNC to try to burst these heroes down.
It certainly is. Still, Armel definitely wants to take advantage of that 10-second BKB charge he has while the chrono is not available. He's got about a minute to make use of that. Could be in the Roshan pit though, which is respawning in about 10 seconds, and TNC are already ready for it. And I wonder if Cignal Ultra will try to contest without that Void ultimate. Definitely doesn't seem like the wise decision, but you don't want to give that Aegis away for free. Well, they'll get started. Cignal don't really have vision around the Roche pit either, so they may not be aware this is happening. They do scan it out. It may be way too late though, and yeah, it definitely is. Roshan is already gone. The Aegis will go the way of Armel, and the cheese will go the way of Gabby. I suppose on the bright side, they will have the chrono up if they do try to force a tier 2 tower. But they'll smoke first, TNC. Nando does get spotted by Gabby. Moonlight Shadow now to be popped. Nando seems to understand they're around him somewhere, and he does go back in towards his base. So nothing will come out of the smoke or the Moonlight Shadow.
Radiant's bottom tower.
See, again, gonna have to wait for the right opportunity. This Gabby will try to force in that bot tier 2, but there could be an engagement up top. They will be fighting over that outpost at the 25-minute mark. Cignal going to try and take it now, and they do grab it, but Armel jumps straight in after Eris. He doesn't find the kill quite yet, and he did use that BKB very early on, but they do get it in the end. Now the Doom on the Timber, not allowing him to do anything throughout this team fight. Where is the Void? Not around at the moment. He's still running in. He has the Chrono. Will he use it, though? Roar comes out again on the Timber, but there is the Chrono. He found 3 of them. It doesn't seem like it's going to be good enough. There's no damage output. The Mystic Flare comes down. They'll find at least the Aegis. Earthsplitter doing a lot of damage, but still Cignal trying to go after Gabby on that CK. They just don't have the damage. They'll go after March instead on the Doom. It's a much easier target. And who's next? KP, the closest target to them. Do they have the lockdown? James will get in there with the Chakram. TNC still trying to just outrun them. They could try and turn. It doesn't look like they're interested. Meld strike to Nando, and that's going to be it. That fight, it was a 2-for-1 trade. It was a buyback on Eris and a dieback for that matter on Eris, but it still seems to go Cignal Ultra's way.
I'm sure they don't mind too much. They managed to take out that Aegis. They managed to force out a couple of spell usages from TNC as well. Sure, you expend the Chronosphere there, but you've got a bit of a time where TNC, they don't have the Doom, they don't have the Phantasm. They are a bit vulnerable as well, so you can try to force something out, particularly once Eris is up. He's going to be a bit of your magic damage coming in these fights, and once that's settled, you could probably at least find a pick-off if you really wanted to.
Under attack.
Quickening Charms popping out. Cooldown's going to be lower. Looks like again Armel going into the dire side jungle, being very aggressive with his positioning. He's getting very close to a butterfly now. You see Nando with that Lincoln Sphere. trying to protect himself from that roar, or the Doom for that matter. They'll be going for a butterfly up next as well.
Is under attack. Dire's top tower is under
Dan,
attack.
just gonna cop an arrow. Won't really matter though, there's no follow-up to it. Cignal Ultra should be able to get this tier 2 tower very, very easily.
Dire's top
And by the time they're done, they'll have the chrono back up, so
bottom tower.
they could try and force another smoke,
Bottom tower has fallen.
or just defend their top tier 3 tower, which was being pushed in by KP once again. TNC, I mean, they've still got a 9k net worth lead, but I'm not sure how concerned they should be. Gabby, as a CK, it does tend to drop off throughout those later stages of the game, whereas the Void just doesn't.
It's gonna be a bit rough. Like, he is rushing that heart, and we have seen CKs go for that heart, somehow still end up having minimal impact. Right now, Gabby's damage is still pretty darn good, and he is still managing to at least burst down his squishier heroes. He isn't doing so well up against Jamesy anymore, and even Nando, if you don't stun lock him, he's basically just, he has enough time between time walks to still fight. So you've really got to watch out. There is a slight timer here for TNC. On that CK at the very least, Armel should be able to maintain relevancy into the late game. So he's going to be the bulk of the damage as this game goes on.
We do have another pause, this time from Cignal Ultra. Bit of pack
Pocket
loss.
loss. No,
Pocket
pocket
loss.
money. He's losing his pocket.
That's not good.
Yeah, James Bolsa. That is pocket in Tagalog. So,
Thank
just
you,
making
John.
fun. Ah,
Cignal Ultra still behind. We'll have a look at that win probability, and it is still apparently 100% their way. So Cignal Ultra
it's bugged out.
there's nothing to worry about for Cignal Ultra. They've got this game in the bag.
Yeah, Gabe has declared it so.
Yes,
TNC will have to play in the minors.
absolutely.
And that's it. Oh, there you go. They're resetting your internet. Or it's PLDT.
Now,
Now, they've been pretty terrible. Like
That-
my line has been consistently cutting. I believe I have been dropping packets as well. Like, I haven't been able to listen in too well, which is fine. I mean, there's a typhoon happening. I can't completely blame them. So, the lines are going to be torn up, which is okay. And in this one case, I can be understanding, Mike.
very good, John. Good to hear it.
Just for now. Not tomorrow.
Absolutely not. Hopefully, Cignal Ultra, or rather Nando, has found his pockets. Definitely important to have those pockets available during these games. Jamesy, last one to reconnect.
I would love to be a fly in the wall here and just hear what both teams are going through.
I mean, it's a
It
lot of
must be
pressure.
tense. Yeah, it's tense. You've got that. You've got, national pride is a bit on the line. I mean, at the very least, everyone, wow, it must be really bad if everyone's disconnecting that much.
Well, it's a typhoon.
Yeah, but-
I imagine typhoon is bad.
Yeah, it tends to be. I've never experienced them because in my part of the country, in my part of the Philippines, we actually don't get typhoons passing through.
Well, aren't you
So-
privileged?
Yeah, it's kind of, yeah, I mean, it's nice to not have that. We do have earthquakes, though, much more often, which they're not like earthquakes that do wreck buildings. Although the past two ones have wrecked a couple of buildings in different cities. My city's not quite in this, it's not the, what do you call it, center point? No. What do you call that term, Mike? Do you have any idea what I'm talking about?
No idea, John.
Of course not.
No idea.
Of course not. How could I expect you to know?
Well, I'd have to be listening to know.
That's fair enough.
Just joking. This is a bit of an unfortunate pause, John. Third game, final game, and Cignal Ultra. I mean, this is not the way you want to have your last game of the qualifiers going, especially considering this is the game that decides whether to go to the major or not.
it's just pivotal.
Neither team really wants to lose like the momentum that they were having in that game, and the more time you spend not playing, the more time you kind of lose that groove that you're in. And that's more unfortunate for TNC, I would argue, who are currently ahead by 10k net worth.
It's gonna be really interesting to consider how well how well these teams will play. Like, you have to factor in that the Southeast Asian games are happening, and in like a few days. So I'm trying to recall, like for Dota 2, I want to say it's Cignal Ultra playing, but I'm gonna have to double check. If it's Cignal, I think that's actually gonna coincide with. Oh no, it's a droid. Okay, but they've got Eris and Van as subs. Wait, if it's a droid, are they still in for? Yeah. Are they actually in, or am I not seeing this right? A droid? No. Okay. Because if any of them had like matches for the minor qualifiers, which are, I believe, in 2 days, that would be a scheduling conflict. So I'm not sure which takes precedence in that case.
I'd imagine the major would, right?
You would think, but I'm not sure how much leeway you can push against your government committees and pull out of an inter-regional game. Like that is like on a different level. It's like outside of the DPC, yeah, the prize pool is probably not amazing as well, but this is very much an issue of actual national pride. So, unfortunately enough, that's not going to be an issue as far as I can see for most of these national teams. Like, no. It would have been an issue if. Oh, actually, no. Okay, that's Barrack X. No.
Maybe just confirm before you go
I'm
any
looking.
further.
I'm looking. It would have been an issue if Fnatic had to play minor qualifiers, mainly because Jabs and Savage are playing for Thailand, which actually sounds really scary. That's pretty stacked, I have to say. Like for the SEA Games, Thailand, that's one to watch out for. And I guess Indonesia, like Barrack X, you can't really count out. Like they haven't had the best run so far, but they've got Jokam, and I think that's a guy I can always cheer for. You've got Nuts over in Singapore as well, and Paulson, although they don't have the big names from Singapore playing this time around. And for the Philippines, it's basically a droid, which, again, they have a bit of an edge playing these qualifiers. But still, that's going to be interesting. Like, how much the meta is going to be influenced by this. They are playing on a new patch as well. It kind of reminds me of the ESL IP, Mike, if you remember casting those. Like, a lot of these teams are from there. Like, the Myanmar group is pretty much, Reckoning, if I recall right? Kind of miscasting those games.
Yeah, they were pretty fun. We should be having them soon again anyway. Too big a deal.
It's been pretty busy. I believe India has DreamHack coming up fairly soon. Unfortunately, no Dota 2 there, but it seems like a pretty happy event. So, good on them. Looks like it's going to be a pretty fun time there.
No word from Cignal Ultra. Of course, they can't really talk considering all of them disconnected, but it doesn't look good. That is
it definitely doesn't.
That is a very long disconnect.
The lines could be down. Maybe they're switching to a different carrier. Maybe they're trying to pop on a wireless modem, which is really not ideal. They're probably exploring their options here. It's going to be rough. It's surprising that TNC isn't facing that same issue from wherever their team house is. But, that's a good thing. That's not a bad thing for TNC. That's a good thing.
Well, I suppose even if they did, though, TNC would probably have a lot of backups, considering it's a major organization, whereas Cignal Ultra is a little bit smaller.
They are, like, on an international scale, for sure. I think Cignal in particular, has really been making strides in trying to establish themselves as a premier esports organization in the Philippines. I think they're pretty damn close to it. Like, I believe they were the champions of the Nationals, that Philippine League, all Philippine League. So they did come out on top there in Season 1.
Right.
and that was a pretty good showing. They have been kind of sticking with the same exact lineup as well. So these guys have played together for a very long time, and hopefully enough their internet comes back. This is one of the longer pauses we've been stuck in. I'm surprised you're not talking about your life right now, Mike.
There's not much to talk about, John. It's all a disaster. I'd rather depress myself at this time of the night.
I mean, you know, it's funny to think about. I mean, it's not funny. It's kind of sad, but it's a strange coincidence. My country is going to be flooding up, and Australia has the bushfires.
It's not good. It's
definitely not.
The whole world is basically having quite a few natural disasters. It's really pretty bad.
You have learned nothing.
What else is there? Like, I'm kind of unaware. I know there was two.
I'd rather not talk about natural disasters. It's a bit depressing.
Miles away.
Don't you think?
It is, but what can you do? The world it happens, right? It's just
It does happen.
it's just a way of things.
Very, very upsetting.
like this kind of disconnect. I'm wondering whether or not the admin actually steps in at some point.
Well, what can
must
they
be
do?
pause time.
Signal Ultra's clearly having technical difficulties. Like, props to the admin for giving them time, and props to TNC
Yeah.
for not complaining about it. Obviously, TNC understands the situation.
Yeah, I think you'd look. It would be pretty rough to have the rule book here.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah.
Tim's, hi. They're gonna start talking to each other.
Miles away.
Poor March.
Oh,
The sports never get appreciated, John. Never.
oh, definitely. I mean, this is a pretty good showing for March. You know, you compare that to his first support Doom game. That went pretty atrocious. This one's pretty good. He is working towards an Ags, and he's having a lovely little time in the jungle, just kind of walking around. He's got a blink. Honestly, actually, he only has a blink and a whole bunch of jungle items in his boots. So, he's having much better impact with just those items than I'd expect.
Well, now we're rolling. 32 is the number for
32.
March. It's a good number.
Gotta roll higher. It's okay. From 0 to 100, that's like lower than average, lower than the middle. So
March asked them to roll back. Tim's, do you have the balls to roll, sir?
why don't you roll, Mike?
I'd rather not. It's a professional game, John. I'd better stay out of it.
I saw that enemy from miles.
And Armel does not roll. Tim's does not roll either. No rolls going on. Nobody having fun.
No one wants to be friends with March.
Poor March.
That's a bit mean.
We appreciate
That is
you,
a bit
March.
mean.
Don't you worry.
He's a great guy. You know, I wonder. You're gonna find this funny. I wonder if they've had dinner. It's 10:22 p.m. at GMT +8, UTC +8. Have they all had dinner? Has everyone had dinner? I hope they have.
That seems to be your concern every time we get this late. Have you had dinner, John? Is that why you're up?
Oh, yes. Yes, I've had a week-old pizza. Probably a week and a half old pizza. Very satisfying.
What kind of pizza, John?
It's hard to describe. I'm guessing it's something called a Manhattan slice from Yellow Cab, which if you're from the Philippines, you'd probably know. And you can probably flame me for my pizza choice. But all I can describe it is it tasted right on the edge of not being good. Edible. So I'm very okay.
Well, March is asking a serious question. It has been quite a
here we go.
wait now.
Yeah, I mean, book has to come out at some point. You can't
not
just
really a rule.
indefinitely. No, it's definitely rule booking. Like there is a set amount of time you can pause for every team.
No, naturally, but
That's
I think
just-
March isn't really throwing the book at them. I think he's just kind of saying, hey, what do we do here?
I mean, it's either you wait or you ask for the rules to be enforced.
Not there.
Framework would. Why would you?
Oh, no.
Armel. Oh. just like those Steam chats you get from random bots? That is a pretty good question, no? Okay, there we go. And
But
after,
Ultra, they're not going to just lose if they don't reconnect.
I don't think they immediately lose, but maybe they just unpause and it's basically free farm for until
so they
Cignal comes
lose.
back. It's not a straight out loss. Like, it's not a straight out forfeit. They just run out of pause time.
So you're telling me that Dota Plus is going to be wrong because they disconnected. Cignal Ultra clearly had a 100% win chance, John. I'm going to be very upset if TNC win just because this disconnection happened.
Yeah, you know what? That is actually a very... Yeah, there you go. So that's an interesting thing to raise up. I wonder if there's any tournament organization that has like a clause for what you would describe legally as acts of God. So say a typhoon would be considered that, you know, like natural disasters or natural occurrences.
I don't think that really.
Yeah, I mean, of course you wouldn't have a clause for that because that's way too much legalese for a game set of rules, but you do run into situations like this as well. So a Cignal will... Yeah,
the admin's doing his best. I mean, the admin can only do what the admin can do. He's doing his absolute best. He has stated that Cignal Ultra has restarted their network.
Get your pitchforks out for March in case. Gabby's throwing him under the bus.
If this is how TNC...
Yeah, no, this is... Oh, that's just not...
I mean, clearly they're winning. Let's not take that away from TNC, right? They're 10K ahead.
Right. They're winning, but you can argue that Cignal has so much going for them. They've been taking a few of these fights. They've been finding Armel. They've been bouncing it out with TNC. Their combination is just starting to come online. You're just starting to see their Void get that farm up. You're seeing the Wombo combo really taking shape, and this happens. So, right. Like, you look at the stats, 12 to 8, 29 minutes in, 10K lead for TNC. They are looking pretty good. But as this game progresses, it's not a dead set win. You take a look at that map, even in terms of map control. And don't check Dota Plus because that is completely wrong.
What?
But it's I can't doubt the AI. The AI will kill me if I doubt it. Okay. So you've got all these situations happening, and you've just got this unbearable pause that just can't go on, right? Like, no matter what the cause is, you just can't do this. So it's going to be rough, and there are definitely going to be a lot of people mad in chat, very mad at more than likely TNC, but there's only so much you can do here. Like, you can't expect the guys to...
hold on a minute. There's no reason for chat to be mad at TNC. I mean, you can't wait all night.
Yeah, exactly. You can't wait all night. Like,
no, they're not going to be mad. I mean, apart from, the memes and stuff, I'm pretty sure everyone's pretty reasonable.
No. Well, it's... No, you can't say that. No, I'm pretty sure chat will just be memeing about TNC winning by unpause.
Yeah, but that's memeing.
It goes beyond memeing. Like, they meme it, but they're also half serious, Mike. Like, it just happens, right? So you're going to have that conversation as well about the last game in a best of 3 just ending this way. If it does end this way, it's not going to be the best luck. But that is how the hive mind kind of works. It's just the way the loudest shout, the people that shout loudest are just the ones that kind of get heard. And you do see a lot of arguments in chat about TNC's performance, right? Like, it has been up and down throughout these close qualifiers. And this series is arguably one that they should not be drawing 1-1 to. Very arguably, they should not be 1-1 to Cignal Ultra. Right? They should be on a different level. On stats, on paper, with the players they have. And Cignal, they're putting up a great fight. But they're going to go for it.
All right, March is going to go for it. It's quite reasonable. They've waited an extra 7 minutes.
All right. Yeah.
And yep, Cignal Ultra, nothing they can do. But Armel, no, Armel's here to save the day. He's had enough of March's tyranny. Armel says no. March, you will take a seat. We will keep waiting.
All right.
Oh, Armel,
So-
the good guy. All right, Armel's trying to get rid of karma. All right, fair enough, Armel.
So they're basically just giving away their own pause time. I mean, they're not giving their pause time, but they're giving the equivalent of their own pause time away. You know, so they're giving them an extra chance here. So there you go. Reddit, bring it out for Armel.
I love these TNC boys. Bloody hilarious these guys are. You know, speaking of, John.
March, right under the bus.
You know, March, we were fans of you, sir, but Armel's the real hero in all this. So everyone please upvote any Armel posts, give him as much Reddit gold as possible, he deserves it. And, well, March is, of course, a businessman. He wants the major over friendships. Armel, though, he's a loving guy. Wants to keep his friends close. John, we were talking about pizza before, while we were waiting.
Yeah.
Do you agree with the age-old argument that pizza, or rather pineapple, does not or does belong on pizza?
That's a tough one. I don't personally go out looking. I don't go out looking for Hawaiian pizza.
Don't be offensive.
But I'm not-
Is it yes or no?
I'm not offended by pineapple in pizza. I don't go looking for it, but I'm not offended by it.
You like
It's,
it or not?
it's fine. Don't like it. I don't dislike it. I'm just neutral with it. Like
Oh,
Sweden is with World War II and World War One. You know, with Switzerland. Sorry. You know, I'm just neutral. I don't take any hard stance. I don't mind it. I don't love it. I don't hate it. I honestly find the people that absolutely hate it to be wasting so much effort. If you actually hate something, you should give no effort in noticing it at all. You don't even have a conversation about it. You ignore it. That's true hatred. What you're doing is bringing attention to something you actually hate, which brings people who love it in, and you're having a conversation about something you'd rather forget. You know, it's like, if you truly hate pineapple in pizza, you will ignore pineapple in pizza.
You're very philosophical tonight, John. Very.
You don't have a conversation. Yeah, it's just the way I am. But yeah, pineapple and pizza.
It's fantastic, by the way, for the any viewers watching. Pineapple pizza is... John, it deserves the spot on pizza. I mean, people keep arguing
For
to me.
some reason, I expected you to be the kind of guy who would hate pineapple in pizza. I'm not sure why.
Pizza. I love it. I think
All
it's
right.
fantastic.
You know, there was this amazing sandwich from McDonald's Singapore, and I've talked to you about it before. It's their buttered chicken sandwich, and that thing is amazing. Absolutely, like the bun is nice. It's a bit too greasy, but it's really good when you're just wanting something fast. The chicken's really well done. The cheese and the chopped cabbage inside is great. I have to say that's one place I don't want my pineapple in, though. Like, it really kind of ruins the taste of that sandwich. So there are moments where I like pineapple, but on the Singaporean McDonald's butter chicken sandwich, definitely a no-go. I ordered that without the pineapple. It is excellent that way. And yeah, it's just a bit of a segue, but pineapple.
Pineapple's good.
Oh no, like I love pineapple as a fruit. Like it's really damn good.
Ooh, we've gone pretty low in the conversations here while this
Nah,
process is
we could go lower. We could go lower,
We're
Mike.
not going to go any lower, John. We've gone as low as we can get. The TNC
Wait.
boys, I'm pretty sure.
Did their line just really get cut? Okay, there we go. Will
just
we see a
take
pause back? No. Okay. And that's the end of that.
Dire's top
Signal
tower
got
is
cut.
under attack.
I saw that ending from miles away.
Oh, March.
Well, they're not going for the kills on the heroes. Oh well,
Yeah.
they are now. Yeah, no, they kind of ignored Jamesy, but they're going on Van. All right.
Well, the game's... Oh. Uh-oh. Oh, no.
Oh, they're back.
I saw
They're
them
back.
coming from miles.
He pauses straight away. Uh-oh.
Oops. On the rulebook, if you're going strictly by the rulebook, this is just an unpause. Yeah.
You know, he's definitely in the right to unpause. I'm not saying that.
Top barracks are under attack.
Anyway, it's fine. They've waited long enough. This game is over. Tim cleans up errors. I'm not sure if it's worth casting this, John. There's not really much going on. They are going to go straight to the tier 4s. They don't want to make this a spectacle.
Yeah.
fair enough.
TNC. That's TNC to the majors. So last major champs do manage to secure that last spot. Rather anticlimactically, I have to tell you, the result might have been different. We'll never know due to circumstance. Cignal, they gave up a good fight. This is really not the way you'd want that to go. And my God, that actually isn't a very good look. I believe Cignal is provided internet by